What is up, everybody? Welcome back. Pull up a chair, grab your snacks, and get comfortable, because today we're kicking off something I've been genuinely excited to explore. We're asking a question that sounds simple, but completely rewrites everything we know about Dragon Ball. What if Goku never landed on Earth? Not what if he stayed evil, or what if Grandpa Gohan never found him? No. What if the pod never made it to Earth at all? What if, through some cosmic accident, baby Kakarot ended up somewhere else entirely? Somewhere like Beerus' planet. Yeah, we're going there. Now, before you say that's ridiculous, hear me out. Because the more I thought about this, the more I realized just how different, and honestly how fascinating, Goku's entire existence would become. Different powers, different personality, different everything. Let's get into it. The Saiyan homeworld. Planet Vegeta hangs in the void of space, a world of red stone, brutal warriors, and a pride that runs bone deep. For generations, the Saiyans have conquered worlds in Frieza's name, believing themselves to be his elite soldiers. They're wrong. Frieza's ship hovers above the atmosphere, and the tyrant himself watches the planet below with cold amusement. The Saiyans are getting too strong, too ambitious, too dangerous. Lord Beerus himself suggested they be dealt with, and honestly, Frieza was looking for an excuse anyway. Down on the planet's surface, a low-class warrior named Bardock sees what's coming. Through visions he doesn't fully understand, glimpses of a future burning with death, he knows this is the end. Not just for him, for everyone. He launches himself toward Frieza's ship alone. One warrior against an emperor. One desperate attack against the power that's destroyed entire civilizations. This ends here, Frieza. His blast flies true, and Frieza catches it with one finger. How cute, the tyrant says. And then he launches his death ball. The sphere of annihilation descends. Planet Vegeta cracks, crumbles, and dies. Billions of Saiyans, warriors, children, families, gone in an instant. But here's where our story diverges. See, when a planet explodes, when that much energy tears through reality at once, sometimes space itself doesn't handle it well. The fabric of the universe isn't as stable as we like to think. And in this case, the sheer violence of Vegeta's destruction tears open something that shouldn't exist. A dimensional rift, a crack between spaces. And one tiny space pod carrying a crying Saiyan infant gets caught in that crack. Baby Kakarot was supposed to go to Earth. The coordinates were locked in. Simple mission: land on a weak planet, grow up, conquer it. Standard Saiyan protocol. But the rift pulls his pod off course, tears it through dimensions, sends it tumbling through spaces that aren't quite normal space. And when it finally crashes down somewhere, it's not Earth. Beerus' planet exists outside normal reality. It's a small planetoid floating in perpetual twilight, a dimension accessible only to divine beings. A massive tree dominates the landscape. A simple but elegant structure serves as home to the god of destruction and his angelic attendant. Whis is in the middle of his morning routine when he hears it. A crash, something impacting near the sacred tree. Now, Whis doesn't get surprised often. He's millions of years old, give or take. He's seen civilizations rise and fall. He's trained gods of destruction. Very little catches him off guard. A Saiyan space pod embedded in a crater next to his tree? That catches him off guard. He examines the pod with mild curiosity. He opens it and finds a baby staring up at him with those big Saiyan eyes. A tail curls around the infant's waist. Well, Whis says, this is unexpected. The oracle fish appears, circling lazily above the crater. This prophetic creature rarely speaks, but when it does, the words carry weight. Interesting, the fish murmurs. This child carries threads of fate I've not seen in millennia. He smells of destiny. Whis raises an eyebrow. He examines the child more carefully with his staff, checking power levels, potential, biology. What he finds is remarkable. Strong latent potential, exceptional even for a Saiyan, and something else, a pure heart. Unusual for a species bred for conquest. The Saiyans were just eliminated, Whis muses aloud. Frieza destroyed their planet on Lord Beerus' orders. This one must have escaped through some anomaly. The child doesn't cry. He just stares at Whis with curious, dark eyes. And here's the thing about Whis. He's always thinking long-term, always looking for opportunities. And an infant Saiyan with exceptional potential, landing literally at his doorstep? That's an opportunity. The ground trembles. Beerus has awakened, irritated by the commotion. The god of destruction emerges from his dwelling, feline features twisted in annoyance. Whis, what is that noise? I'm trying to sleep. Apologies, Lord Beerus. It seems a Saiyan infant has arrived. Beerus squints at the child with complete disinterest. Destroy it. I ordered the Saiyan's elimination for a reason. Of course, Lord Beerus. Although, that single word hangs in the air. Beerus' ear twitches. Whis chooses his next words very carefully. You've spoken of desiring retirement for millennia. A proper successor would need to be trained from youth to inherit the role of destroyer. And this child has remarkable potential. A Saiyan raised with divine training, instilled with proper values from infancy. You want me to raise a replacement? Beerus snorts. I would handle the actual raising, of course. You would merely need to occasionally evaluate his progress. In a few decades, you might have a viable candidate. Beerus considers this. Sleep is calling to him. The prospect of eventual retirement has genuine appeal. And honestly, he really doesn't want to deal with this right now. Fine, if he proves worthless, erase him yourself. Don't wake me again for something so trivial. And just like that, Beerus returns to his slumber. Whis looks down at the infant, who has grabbed onto his staff with surprising grip strength. Well then, you'll need a name. He examines the pod's display. Damaged. Characters corrupted. Karat? No, that doesn't seem right. Goku. Yes, Goku. That will do. The child laughs. Here's where I need you to understand something crucial about this scenario. When we talk about Goku being trained by Whis, we're not talking about the few years of training he got in Super. We're talking about his entire life, from infancy to adulthood. 24 years of the most refined, most sophisticated martial arts training in existence. That changes everything. Let me walk you through it. From the moment Goku can walk, Whis begins his training. Not fighting, not yet. Movement, balance, coordination. The fundamentals that most martial artists never truly master. By age 5, Goku can sense ki. Not just feel it, truly perceive it. The energy in the air, in the tree, in Whis himself. Everything is connected, and Goku learns to see those connections. Ki is not merely power, Whis explains during their lessons. It is life itself, externalized. Feel it within you. Feel it in everything around you. Even Lord Beerus, sleeping as he is, his ki flows like a river of destruction. Goku absorbs these lessons with remarkable aptitude. He's curious, eager, endlessly questioning. Why does ki work this way? What makes divine ki different? Can he touch Lord Beerus's power someday? Whis answers every question with patience. He sees something in this child, something worth cultivating. Here's something most people don't think about. Goku still has his tail. In canon, the tail gets removed pretty early on because the Great Ape transformation is too dangerous, too uncontrollable. But Whis doesn't see it that way. The transformation multiplies your power tenfold, Whis tells the 8-year-old Goku. Why would we discard such a useful tool simply because it's difficult to control? So they train it. The first attempts are rough. Great Ape Goku rampages across portions of Beerus's planet, smashing rock formations, roaring mindlessly. Whis restrains him casually. A god's attendant containing an oversized monkey is barely an inconvenience. But over years of practice, something shifts. At age 10, Goku can trigger the transformation at will. At age 12, he maintains partial consciousness, foggy, instinct-driven, but present. At age 15, full consciousness and control. He can transform, fight with precision, and revert whenever he chooses. Let me be clear about what this means. By the time Goku is 15 years old, he has complete mastery over the Great Ape form. It's not a berserker state, it's a tool, a multiplier he can access deliberately and use with technique. This is going to matter later, trust me. As Goku enters his late teens and early 20s, the training evolves. Whis introduces the basics of divine ki, not mastery, but awareness. Goku learns to sense God ki as distinct from mortal energy. He learns to suppress his own power so completely that he becomes invisible to any ki sense. He learns efficiency of movement, conservation of energy, the art of doing more with less. And most importantly, Whis begins planting the seeds of something greater. The body is wiser than the mind, Whis says during one training session. The mind calculates, decides, then commands the body to act. This creates delay. True mastery eliminates that delay entirely. The body acts while the mind merely observes. Move before thinking? Goku asks. Precisely. Let your body respond to threat without waiting for conscious decision. It requires complete trust in your training, your instincts. Goku practices this constantly. He tries to let his body react independently, to divorce action from thought. He can't do it. Not yet. The technique requires something Goku has never experienced. Genuine, life-threatening danger. Real stakes. A moment where his survival depends on his body acting faster than his mind can process. Beerus's planet doesn't offer that. Everything here is controlled, safe, measured. The foundation is laid. But the breakthrough will have to wait. By age 24, Goku is extraordinary. His power level would dwarf any mortal fighter in the universe. His technique is refined to a degree that most warriors couldn't achieve in 10 lifetimes. His Great Ape mastery is absolute. His ki control is exceptional. And yet, he's stuck. "You've absorbed everything I can teach through controlled training," Whis tells him one evening. "You spar with me, but I always hold back. There's no true danger. Your body has never genuinely feared death." For a Saiyan, true growth requires adversity, battle, stakes. Goku understands this intellectually, but it frustrates him. He's never transformed into a Super Saiyan. The legendary form requires an emotional trigger, grief, rage, desperation, that Goku has never experienced. His life has been structured, controlled, safe. Powerful, yes, but safe. Here's the thing about Goku's personality in this scenario, and I want to be careful about how I frame this. Canon Goku's pure heart is usually attributed to the head injury he received as a baby, the one that made him forget his Saiyan programming. But that's always felt like a cop-out to me. Are we really saying Saiyans are genetically evil? That without brain damage, Goku would have been a monster? I don't buy it. Saiyans aren't inherently evil. They're a warrior culture that prizes strength and conquest. It's nurture, not nature. Take a Saiyan child, remove them from that culture, raise them with discipline and ethical guidance, their innate nature emerges. And Goku's innate nature is pure-hearted. He's curious. Everything interests him. The universe, mortals, existence itself. He asks Whis endless questions. He's eager. Training is joy to him, not obligation. The feeling of improvement, of growth, drives him. He's disciplined. Whis instilled structure and patience. Goku can focus, can wait, can plan in ways that Canon Goku never really learned. But he's also deeply, achingly lonely. 24 years on Beerus' planet. 24 years with only Whis for company, and Whis, for all his care, is not mortal, cannot be mortal. The gap between them is fundamental. Goku watches the universe through Whis' staff. He sees planets, species, civilizations. He watches mortals living, fighting, laughing, dying. Their brief lives fascinate him. He's a divine being who yearns to be mortal. Picture this scene. Goku sits at the edge of Beerus' planet, tail wrapped around his waist, staring at images in Whis' staff. Earth. A blue planet, teeming with life. Martial artists train in mountain dojos. Children play in city streets. Families share meals together. Whis, what are they like? The mortals? Up close, I mean, not through images. Whis considers the question. Fragile, brief, endlessly fascinating. Their lives burn bright precisely because they're so short. They know death is coming, always coming, and yet they continue. They love, they struggle, they create meaning from nothing. I want to meet them. Goku's voice carries a longing he rarely expresses. I want to know what it's like, to be among them. Whis smiles, enigmatic as always. When Lord Beerus permits. And perhaps soon. You've reached the limit of what controlled training can provide. You need something this realm cannot offer. What's that? Reality, consequence. The experience of genuine stakes, where failure means death rather than merely disappointment. Goku continues watching Earth. The mortals live their small, precious lives. They don't know how fragile they are, how brief, and somehow, that makes their existence more meaningful, not less. He feels the ache of isolation more keenly than ever, 24 years among gods, and still, he doesn't know what it means to truly live. So that's where we're starting, folks. A Goku who's never known Earth, never known Grandpa Gohan or Bulma or Krillin, never eaten at a dinner table with friends, never experienced loss or love or the desperate need to protect something precious. He has power, extraordinary power. Technique that would make most fighters weep with envy. A foundation for something even greater. But he's missing the spark. The emotional catalyst that transforms potential into legend. That's about to change. 1 year before everything goes to hell. Raditz, low-class Saiyan warrior, brother to Kakarot, has been searching for years. His baby brother was sent to Earth decades ago. Simple infiltration mission. By now, Kakarot should have conquered the planet and been waiting for pickup. But when Raditz tracks the pod's trajectory through space, something's wrong. The signal just ends. Empty void. No planet, no debris, no explanation. It's like the pod vanished from existence mid-flight. Frustrated, Raditz checks the original destination coordinates anyway. Earth. Maybe Kakarot arrived through some alternate route. Maybe the tracking signal malfunctioned. Worth investigating. He descends through Earth's atmosphere, scouter beeping as it picks up power levels. Pathetically low by Saiyan standards, the strongest reading barely cracks 400, but notable for such a primitive world. He lands in a wasteland and finds, not his brother. A green-skinned figure meditates among the rocks. Pointed ears, white cape, eyes that open with cold hostility the moment Raditz touches down. You. Raditz's voice carries the arrogance of someone who's never met his match. Where is the Saiyan who came to this planet? Piccolo rises slowly. Saiyan? I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. My brother was sent here as an infant. Kakarot! Where is he? There's no Saiyan on this planet. Piccolo's eyes narrow. I would have sensed Raditz attacks without warning. And just like that, the first domino falls. Here's the thing about this fight that makes it fundamentally different from canon. There's no Goku. In the original story, Goku and Piccolo team up. Goku holds Raditz in place while Piccolo charges his special beam cannon. Both brothers die. It's tragic, it's heroic, and it sets up everything that follows. But in our timeline, Goku is sitting on Beerus' planet watching the universe through Whis' staff, completely unaware that his biological brother just landed on Earth. So the Z-Fighters have to handle this themselves. Piccolo fights first and gets demolished. Raditz is simply too fast, too strong. A power level of 1500 against Piccolo's 400-something isn't a fight, it's a beating. But then the others arrive. Krillin, Tien, Yamcha, Chaozu. They sense the massive power, the violence erupting in the wasteland, and they converge. Not because they think they can win, but because someone has to try. What the hell is that thing? Yamcha manages, staring at the armored alien standing over Piccolo's broken form. Doesn't matter, Tien says. We take him together or we die alone. And here's where I need you to appreciate something about these guys. In canon, the human fighters become increasingly irrelevant as power levels skyrocket. They're jokes by the Cell Saga, afterthoughts by Buu. But in this moment, they're Earth's only hope, and they step up. The battle is brutal. Raditz is stronger than any of them individually. Hell, he's stronger than all of them combined. But they're coordinated, desperate, fighting with everything they have because there's no backup coming. Krillin's Destructo Disc forces Raditz to dodge rather than tank. Tien's Tri-Beam creates openings. Yamcha and Chaozu harass from angles, keeping the Saiyan off balance. And Piccolo, battered, bleeding, but still standing, charges his special beam cannon. Hold him! Just a few more seconds! Raditz realizes the threat too late. He breaks through the fighter's coordination, blasting toward Piccolo. Krillin intercepts. Takes a blow that would kill most people. He crumples, but he bought the time. Piccolo fires. The Makanko Sappo special beam cannon pierces straight through Raditz's chest. The Saiyan warrior collapses, coughing blood, laughing even as he dies. Fools, my scouter transmitted everything. 2 more Saiyans far stronger than me, they'll come for your Dragon Balls. His eyes go dim. They'll come, in 1 year. Raditz dies. But so do others. Yamcha's injuries are too severe. He bleeds out before anyone can reach him. Chaozu used too much energy in his attacks. His small body simply gives out. The survivors, Piccolo, Krillin, Tien, are battered beyond recognition. They won. Barely. And the cost was catastrophic. And the worst part? They have exactly 1 year before something far worse arrives. The survivors gather at Kami's lookout. The Guardian of Earth senses the cosmic disturbance, the approaching threat, and what he tells them makes the Raditz fight look like a warm-up. 2 more Saiyans, Kami confirms, his ancient face grave. I can feel them at the edge of my perception, traveling through space toward Earth. They are immense. Unlike anything I've ever sensed, Raditz was nothing compared to what's coming. Can we beat them? Krillin asks, though he already knows the answer. Not as you are now. Perhaps not at all. Kami's voice carries the weight of centuries. You must train as you've never trained before. 1 year is not much time. Piccolo stands apart from the others, arms crossed, scowling at the tile floor. His injuries are already healing Namekian physiology, but his pride is wounded far worse. And if we fail? He asks. If we all die? Kami hesitates. Then he says something that changes everything. There is something you should know, in case the worst happens. He tells them about Namek. I am Namekian, Kami explains, from a distant planet called Namek. I came to Earth long ago, separated from my people, but my origins lie elsewhere. And on Namek, there are Dragon Balls as well. Different from Earth's, but equally powerful. Another set of Dragon Balls? Krillin's eyes widen with desperate hope. If Earth's Dragon Balls should fail, if I should die and our Dragon Balls become stone, Namek is your only hope for resurrection. Remember this. Hold on to it. Because the beings coming for us, I don't know if any of you will survive. The survivors absorb this information. A backup plan. A desperate last resort. They use Earth's Dragon Balls to restore Yamcha and Chaozu. The wishes work. The 2 fighters return, weakened but alive. And then, the training begins. 1 year. That's all they have. The Saiyans arrive. 2 space pods crater a city block in East City. The impact kills hundreds. And from the wreckage emerge 2 figures that make Raditz look like a child playing warrior. Nappa, elite Saiyan soldier. Bald, massive, radiating violence like a furnace radiates heat. Power level, over 4,000. And Vegeta, prince of all Saiyans. Compact, coiled, with eyes that hold the cold certainty of absolute superiority. The last royal of a dead world. Power level, 18,000. They've come for the Dragon Balls. Immortality awaits and nothing on this pathetic mudball is going to stop them. The Z-Fighters converge. Piccolo, Krillin, Tien, Yamcha, Chaozu. All of them trained to their absolute limits, pushed beyond anything they thought possible. It's not enough. Let me walk you through this, because it's important to understand just how outclassed they are. Nappa plants 6 seeds in the ground. Green creatures emerge, each one with a power level equal to Raditz. 6 Raditzes, against Earth's defenders. The battle is chaotic. Tien destroys one with a precise ki blast. Krillin's Destructo Disc bisects another. But these things are vicious, suicidal, explosive. One latches onto Yamcha, wraps around him, detonates. Tien barely saves him, pushes him out of the way, but takes shrapnel damage that costs him his left arm. Chaozu tries the same self-destruct tactic he used in canon, launches himself at Nappa directly. But Nappa's too strong. The explosion does nothing but kill Chaozu. Tien screams. Rage floods through him. He unleashes a tri-beam directly at Nappa's face, and Nappa barely flinches. With the Cybermen dealt with, Nappa attacks personally. And this is where the horror really sets in. He's so far beyond them that it's not even a fight. It's an execution in slow motion. Yamcha goes down first, a backhanded slap that shatters ribs and sends him cratering into a cliff face. He doesn't get back up. Tien, one-armed and bleeding, stands his ground. His tri-beam is the strongest attack any of them have, but it's draining his life force with every shot. He fires again. Again. Nappa walks through them. Cute trick, the Saiyan says. Let me show you a real attack. The blast takes Tien in the chest. He's dead before he hits the ground. And then there's Piccolo and Krillin. Piccolo fights brilliantly. Years of training have made him Earth's strongest warrior by far. His stretching limbs, his regeneration, his tactical mind, he's doing better than anyone expected. But Nappa's power level is still 10 times his own. A mouth blast. Point blank, Piccolo's chest caves in. The Namekian warrior falls, and with him, so does Kami. So do the Dragon Balls, they turn to stone, inert and useless, scattered across the earth. Nappa stands over the battlefield, laughing. Krillin is the only one still breathing, and not for long. Any last words, little man? Krillin has nothing. No technique, no power, no hope. He's about to die. And then, someone catches Nappa's wrist. Let me set this scene properly, because it's been building for 24 years. On Beerus' planet, Goku has been watching through Whis' staff. He's seen the whole battle unfold, the desperate fighting, the deaths, the complete slaughter of Earth's defenders. He's felt something he's never experienced before. Urgency. The lives of beings he's never met, ending in violence, and some part of him screaming that he should be there. Beerus is awake, eating at his usual spot. Goku approaches. Lord Beerus, something's happening. On Earth, people are dying. That's what mortals do. Beerus doesn't look up from his food. They die. It's their defining characteristic. Please, let me go. Let me help them. Beerus pauses, considers. The boy has been stagnating. His power hasn't grown in years because there's no real challenge here, no genuine stakes. Perhaps actual combat would push him further. Consider it a field examination. Beerus waves a hand dismissively. But don't reveal your connection to me, and try not to embarrass yourself. Goku bows. Thank you, Lord Beerus. Whis transports him instantly. One moment he's standing on divine ground, the next, he's on Earth, materializing directly behind a massive bald Saiyan about to kill a small human. His hand catches Nappa's wrist before the killing blow lands. That's enough. Nappa's eyes go wide. He didn't sense anything. No key signature, no approach, nothing. This person simply appeared from empty air. And then he sees the tail, wrapped around the newcomer's waist like a belt. Brown fur. Unmistakably Saiyan. You! Nappa jerks his arm free, steps back, stares. You're a Saiyan. How? Frieza killed everyone, we thought. I was raised elsewhere. Goku's voice is calm, curious even. He's examining Nappa with the same interest a biologist might examine a new species. So this is what other Saiyans are like. From across the battlefield, Vegeta watches with narrowed eyes. His scouter is going crazy, the readings don't make sense. One moment this newcomer has no power level at all. The next, the scouter picks up fragments, glimpses of something vast before the signal cuts out entirely. "Who are you?" Vegeta demands. "My name is Goku." Goku? Vegeta's mind races. The pod trajectory that ended in nowhere. The brother Raditz never found. Kakarot? You're Kakarot? Goku tilts his head. "I've been called that, but Whis named me Goku." None of this makes sense to Vegeta. Whis? Who the hell is Whis? But before he can demand answers, Nappa attacks. And here's where 24 years of training reveal themselves. Nappa throws a punch that could shatter mountains. Goku sidesteps it without seeming to move. One moment in the path, the next moment not. Like the attack simply passed through empty air. Another punch. A kick. A ki blast at point-blank range. Goku dodges everything. He's not even trying. His movements are so efficient, so economical, that it looks like he's barely participating in the fight. "You're strong," Goku observes, ducking under a wild haymaker. "But undisciplined. Wasteful with your energy. Too reliant on raw power." Nappa roars in frustration and puts everything into a single massive attack. All his ki concentrated into one devastating blow. Goku deflects it with one hand. And then he counterattacks. Here's the thing about Goku in this moment. He's never fought with killing intent. Every spar with Whis was controlled. Every training session had safety limits. He's extraordinarily skilled, impossibly powerful, but he's never calculated force against an opponent he intended to actually harm. His strike is meant to incapacitate, end the fight without killing. That's what Whis would do. Precise, measured, purposeful. But Nappa is already damaged from the earlier battle. His body, weakened by accumulated injuries and the strain of using so much energy, can't absorb the impact. Something breaks inside the Saiyan elite. Organs rupture, spine shatters, Nappa collapses. His eyes go dim, dead. Goku stares at his hands, his first kill, unintentional, uncontrolled. He's shaken in a way he's never experienced. This is what real combat means. This is what stakes feel like. One miscalculation and someone ceases to exist. "I didn't mean to," he murmurs. And across the battlefield, Vegeta's expression shifts from shock to something far more complex. "You killed Nappa." Vegeta's voice is flat, impressive. He should be angry. Nappa was his partner for decades, one of the only other Saiyans left alive. But Vegeta has never cared about anyone except himself. What he's feeling isn't grief, it's calculation. This Saiyan, this Kakarot, is powerful. How powerful? Vegeta doesn't know. His scouter keeps glitching out, unable to track a consistent reading. That's never happened before. And Vegeta is the prince of all Saiyans. He will not be surpassed by some low-class mystery. "Fight me," Vegeta says, "now." Goku looks at him, really looks. And despite everything that just happened, the death, the shock, the weight of his first kill, something inside him responds. Another Saiyan, another warrior, a genuine challenge. All right, Vegeta attacks first. He's faster than Nappa, smarter, more refined. His techniques are precise and deadly. He fights with the trained expertise of a warrior prince who's been killing since childhood. Goku matches him, counters him, surpasses him in every exchange. Vegeta, frustrated beyond words, creates a power ball, an artificial moon, and throws it into the sky. His body begins to shift, to swell. Fur erupts across his form. The Great Ape transformation takes hold. "Let's see how you handle this," Vegeta roars, voice distorted by his massive ape jaws. Goku smiles and transforms himself. His Great Ape is different, controlled, conscious. His eyes remain clear, his movements precise. Where Vegeta's Uzaru is a berserker, Goku's is a master. "You can control it?" Vegeta's shock is audible even through his ape form. "That's impossible. No Saiyan can. I've had time to practice." Two great apes clash across the battlefield. The destruction is incredible. Craters form with every impact. Mountains shake from the shockwaves. But the outcome is never in doubt. Goku's mastery overwhelms Vegeta's raw power. Every attack is redirected. Every opening is exploited. Years of training under Whis, refined to perfection, applied against an opponent who only knows brute force. Goku reverts first, deliberately, while Vegeta is still in Uzaru form. And then, with precise strikes, he forces Vegeta to exhaust himself until the transformation collapses. The Prince of Saiyans lies broken on the ground. His tail is intact, there's no Yajirobe in this version to cut it, but his pride is shattered far worse than any bone. Goku stands over him. He could kill Vegeta. Should, maybe, given what the prince came here to do. But something stops him. You're strong, Goku says. There's something inside you, I can feel it. Potential you haven't touched yet. Vegeta glares up at him with pure hatred. Get stronger. Goku offers a hand, which Vegeta refuses. Find me again someday. Vegeta crawls to his space pod and escapes into the sky. And Goku is left standing on a battlefield of corpses, realizing for the first time what it means to be part of the mortal world. The next few hours are a blur. Krillin, the only Z-fighter still conscious, stares at Goku with a mixture of awe and terror. Who are you? My name is Goku. I'm Saiyan, apparently. Like them. He gestures at the destruction around them. But I wasn't raised with them. Then where? Goku hesitates. Beerus ordered him not to reveal the connection. Elsewhere. Somewhere far away. He experiences Earth properly for the first time. The taste of food, such variety, such flavor compared to Whis' admittedly excellent but monotonous cooking. The warmth of the sun. The strange, precious feeling of being surrounded by other living beings. He learns about the deaths, about Piccolo and how Piccolo's death killed Kami, which turned the Dragon Balls to stone. About the Namekian homeworld with its own Dragon Balls, humanity's only hope for restoring what was lost. And he carries the weight of Nappa's death, the accident that wasn't supposed to happen. Whis' key signal reaches him. Time to return. I have to go, Goku tells Krillin, but I'll come back, I promise. He suppresses his key completely and vanishes into the sky, leaving Krillin staring at empty air. Raised elsewhere, Krillin murmurs to himself. Where could someone become that powerful? He has no answer. So there it is, folks. Goku's first contact with the mortal world. And it's complicated, right? He saved Krillin's life, he stopped the Saiyan invasion, but he also killed Nappa by accident, spared Vegeta when maybe he shouldn't have, and left Earth with its Dragon Balls turned to stone and half its defenders dead. This isn't the triumphant hero's arrival. This is someone raised by gods trying to figure out what it means to exist among mortals, and making mistakes along the way. The question now is, what happens next? Earth needs the Namekian Dragon Balls to restore Piccolo, Kami, and the others. The Z-Fighters are going to Namek. But so is Vegeta, and he's not going alone. The tyrant who destroyed planet Vegeta, who killed Goku's entire race, is about to enter the picture. Frieza is coming. And Goku? Goku is about to learn the truth about his past. About Beerus' role in the Saiyan genocide. About the god who raised him, and what that god ordered done to his people. The silence on Beerus' planet felt heavier now. Goku sat at the edge of the sacred tree's roots, staring at his hands that had ended Nappa's life without meaning to. 24 years of training, and he still couldn't control himself when it mattered. He'd wanted to protect those people, those mortals he'd finally gotten to meet. Instead, he'd killed someone. And here's the thing about the first time you take a life. It doesn't matter if they deserved it. It doesn't matter if they were about to murder an innocent man. What matters is that you felt the moment their energy disappeared. You felt the exact instant they stopped being a person and became nothing. Goku had felt that, and he couldn't unfeel it. You're brooding, Whis observed, appearing beside him with that characteristic soundlessness. It's unbecoming. I killed him. You did. I didn't mean to. Whis' staff clicked against stone as he settled beside his student. And that's precisely the problem, isn't it? Not the killing itself, but the lack of intention behind it. A god of destruction must destroy with purpose. What you did was clumsy. Goku flinched. In all his years of training, Whis had never called him clumsy. Destruction isn't inherently evil, Whis continued, his voice carrying that patient tone of a teacher who'd been explaining things for millions of years. Lord Beerus destroys planets, civilizations, entire species. Is he evil? No, Goku admitted. He's balancing things, keeping the universe from getting too cluttered. Exactly. Destruction serves a purpose. It creates space for new growth. What makes destruction a failure isn't the act itself. It's when it happens without control, without meaning. You struck Nappa without calculating the force required to incapacitate versus the force required to kill. That's not destruction. That's an accident. Goku let the words settle. He understood, intellectually. But understanding didn't make the memory fade. I wanted to spar with him, he said quietly. I wanted to fight him and let him live so we could fight again someday, like Vegeta. Whis nodded. Ah, the Saiyan Prince. Now there's an interesting specimen. Do you know he remembers Lord Beerus? Goku looked up. What? From when Vegeta was a child. Lord Beerus visited planet Vegeta, demanded King Vegeta bow, used the prince's head as a footstool. Vegeta would have been perhaps 5 or 6 years old. He remembers his father's humiliation, his own powerlessness. Whis smiled, though it held no warmth. That kind of memory shapes a person. This was new information. Vegeta had known about Beerus, had known and still defied him by coming to Earth, by challenging Goku, by surviving. He's on Namek now, Whis added conversationally. Goku's head snapped up. What? The green planet, Namek, where Kami, Whis paused. Ah, that's right, Kami, the guardian who died when the Namekian warrior Piccolo fell. He told the survivors about Namek's Dragon Balls before his death. The mortals you befriended are traveling there to wish their fallen comrades back. Goku was already on his feet. I have to, you will do nothing. The voice came from behind them, rumbling with ancient power. Beerus stood in the temple doorway, his feline eyes half-lidded but unmistakably alert. Lord Beerus, Goku said, forcing himself into a respectful posture. Even now, after 24 years, that power made his instincts scream danger. Namek is Frieza's territory, Beerus said, padding forward on bare feet. Or rather, it was. The Emperor is currently there himself, searching for the same Dragon Balls your mortal friends seek. Let them sort it out. But they can't beat Frieza. I felt his power from here, it's massive. Then they'll die. That's how the universe works. Beerus yawned, showing teeth that could crush planets. I'm going back to sleep. Don't do anything stupid. He disappeared into the temple's shadows. Goku stood frozen, processing. His friends, could he call them friends? He'd known them for less than a day, were traveling into Frieza's grasp. The tyrant who'd destroyed planet Vegeta, the tyrant who'd murdered his biological father, his people, his entire world. Whis, Goku said slowly. Lord Beerus ordered the destruction of planet Vegeta, didn't he? The silence stretched. Whis' expression remained placid, but something flickered in those ancient eyes. Lord Beerus felt the Saiyans were becoming troublesome. Their warmongering was disrupting the balance of Universe 7. He suggested to Frieza that their removal might be beneficial. Goku's hands trembled, not from fear, from something hotter. He used Frieza, like a tool, to kill everyone. My father, my mother, everyone. Your father was a low-class warrior who sent you away to conquer a primitive planet, Whis said gently. Your mother was barely recorded in Saiyan archives. You romanticized people you never knew, Goku. They were still my people. They were conquerors, murderers, planet traders. They slaughtered billions across the cosmos for profit and pleasure. Lord Beerus' decision to end them was controversial among the Kais, yes, but hardly unprecedented. Goku heard the logic. He even understood it. The Saiyans had been monsters. Raditz had proven that, hadn't he? And Vegeta was hardly a saint. Everything Whis said was true. But truth doesn't erase the hollow feeling of knowing your entire race was annihilated by the god you serve. For 3 days, Goku meditated. He tried to focus on his training, on the breathing exercises Whis had taught him, on the stillness that was supposed to unlock Ultra Instinct. But every time he closed his eyes, he saw Vegeta's face when they'd fought. The pride, the desperation, the absolute refusal to bow even when beaten. That same Vegeta was on Namek now, pursuing immortality probably, pursuing answers about the mysterious Saiyan who'd appeared from nowhere and humiliated him, pursuing something to fill the void that losing everything had carved into his soul. And Frieza was there too. Goku reached out with his senses, the way Whis had taught him, across the vast emptiness of space, past countless stars and dying worlds until he found it, that cold, malevolent presence that felt like the temperature dropping in a room, Frieza. And around him, smaller powers flickering like candles, some familiar, some not. One of them, impossibly, was Vegeta, diminished from their fight but growing, learning, adapting. Another was distinctly Earthling, Krillin, the small bald one who'd looked at Goku with such wonder and fear. And there were others. Dying. One by one, those small flames were being extinguished. Goku stood. I'm going. Whis appeared as if summoned. Lord Beerus forbade. I know what he forbade. Goku turned to face his teacher, and something had changed in his expression. The innocence was still there, the purity that had survived 24 years of isolation. But beneath it, something harder had emerged. He ordered my race's extinction. He used Frieza to do it. And now Frieza is killing the people I finally got to meet. Frieza is a necessary evil. He maintains order across, I don't care. Those 3 words hung in the air like a challenge. Whis studied his student with genuine interest. In all their years together, Goku had never defied an order, had never even questioned one. He'd been the perfect student, eager, dedicated, trusting. This was something new. If you go, Whis said carefully, you may not be welcome back. I know. Lord Beerus could destroy you, truly destroy you, erase your existence. I know. Then why? Goku's smile was sad but certain. Because I spent 24 years learning how to be a god. And I just realized I don't know how to be a person. Those mortals on Namek, they know. They're weak and scared and they're going anyway. That's something I need to learn. He walked toward the edge of the planet where the dimensional boundary shimmered between existence and void. Goku, Whis called. He stopped but didn't turn. I'll delay Lord Beerus, but I can't protect you forever. Thank you, Whis. And then he was gone, burning across the cosmos toward Namek. He arrived to chaos. The skies of Namek had turned dark, not from night but from the sheer weight of Frieza's power bearing down on the planet. Bodies lay scattered across scorched grass, Namekians mostly, their green forms broken and still. In the distance, a massive spacecraft dominated the horizon, surrounded by soldiers in armor. And in the center of it all, a monster. Frieza's final form was almost beautiful, in the way a perfect killing machine can be beautiful. Small, sleek, white and purple, with a tail that swayed hypnotically as he spoke to the mortals cowering before him. And once I have immortality, Frieza was saying, his voice cultured and cruel, I believe I'll start by destroying this planet. Poetic, don't you think? The last Namekians die on their homeworld clutching their precious Dragon Balls. Goku landed 50 feet away and every head turned. The Z-Fighters, what remained of them, stared in disbelief. Krillin, Tien missing an arm and bleeding heavily, Bulma hidden behind a rock formation, and Vegeta, battered and bloodied but still standing, his armor cracked and his eyes burning with something between hope and hatred. You, Vegeta breathed. Frieza's tail stopped swaying. Those red eyes narrowed, scanning Goku's power level, and for just a moment, something like concern flickered across that composed face. Another Saiyan. How delightful. I thought I'd killed all of you. Frieza smiled, showing perfect teeth. No matter, one more monkey to exterminate. You killed my people, Goku said, and his voice carried across the battlefield without effort. You destroyed my world. You murdered my father before I ever got to meet him. Your father? Frieza laughed, genuine amusement coloring his voice. Oh, this is rich. Which insignificant low-class warrior was your progenitor? Bardock? The one who tried to stop me single-handedly? He died screaming, you know. They all did. Goku felt his power rising, responding to the rage building in his chest. But he pushed it down. Control. Intention. Purpose. I'm giving you one chance, Goku said. Leave this planet. Never return. Stop conquering. Stop killing. The silence that followed was broken by Frieza's laughter. High, mocking, utterly devoid of sanity. You're giving me a chance? Do you have any idea who I am? I am Lord Frieza. I am the Emperor of the Universe. I have destroyed civilizations older than your species' entire existence. And you, some nobody Saiyan who wasn't even good enough to be recorded in my files, you dare to threaten me? Frieza's power erupted, and the ground beneath them cracked. I will show you fear, the tyrant whispered. I will show you exactly why your kind begged me to end them. The battle that followed would become legend across the cosmos. Frieza, at 50% of his maximum power, was everything the stories claimed. Fast enough to blur, strong enough to crack planets, skilled enough to predict almost every attack. His death beams carved canyons into Namek's surface. His tail strikes shattered mountains. And Goku matched him. Not easily, not cleanly. Every exchange left them both bloodied, both pushed beyond what they'd expected. Goku's base form, enhanced by 24 years of Whis' training, was enough to trade blows with the universe's greatest tyrant. But trading blows wasn't winning. Impressive, Frieza admitted, wiping blood from his lip. I'll grant you that. You're stronger than any Saiyan I've ever encountered. Perhaps even stronger than that fool Vegeta when he pretends he matters. I'm just getting started, Goku said, though his breath was heavier than he'd like. So am I. Frieza's smile turned cold. You've seen half my power. Let me show you the rest. 100%. The transformation was subtle, just a slight increase in muscle mass, a brightening of that purple and white skin, but the power behind it was anything but subtle. Goku felt it crash over him like a wave, and for the first time since landing, he understood fear. This was what his father had faced. This was what had ended his entire species, and it was stronger than him. The beating that followed was systematic. Frieza wasn't just winning, he was making a point. Every strike was placed to maximize pain without ending the fight. Every taunt was designed to break spirit as thoroughly as bone. You thought you could challenge me? Frieza punctuated each word with a blow. You thought some orphan monkey could threaten the Emperor of the Universe? Goku tried to rise, failed, tried again. From somewhere to his left, he heard a voice. Kakarot. Vegeta. The prince was on his knees, too wounded to move, but his eyes blazed with desperate intensity. Don't let him win. You're the only one who can. Frieza turned, irritation flickering across his perfect features. Still alive, Vegeta? How tedious. He raised one finger, a tiny death beam forming at its tip. Let me correct that. The beam lanced through Vegeta's chest. For a moment, the prince looked almost surprised. Then he crumpled, blood pooling beneath him, and his ki began to fade. Goku crawled toward him, ignoring Frieza's mocking laughter, ignoring the agony in every cell of his body. He reached Vegeta just as the prince's eyes began to dim. Avenge us, Vegeta whispered. Avenge the Saiyans. He took everything. Our planet, our pride, our future. You're the only one left who can. His eyes closed, his power vanished, and something inside Goku shattered. It wasn't like the training sessions, where emotion was supposed to be controlled, channeled, released in measured doses. This was grief and rage and 24 years of loneliness crashing together into something that refused to be contained. Vegeta was dead. The last connection to his species. The rival he'd hoped to fight again someday. The proud prince who'd never bowed. Not even at the end. Gone. Because of Frieza. Because of the same monster who'd killed his father, his mother, his entire world. Goku screamed, and the planet screamed with him. His Great Ape transformation had always been clean, controlled, intentional, a tool to be used and set aside. But this wasn't controlled. This was primal power breaking loose from every restraint Whis had taught him, flooding through pathways he'd never known existed. Golden light erupted from his body. His muscles expanded. His hair stood on end, shifting color, shifting form. The Great Ape rose inside him, but it didn't stop there. It kept building, kept transforming, kept ascending. Golden Great Ape. The form Whis had theorized about but never seen. The legendary state that combines Saiyan rage with primal power and emotional breakthrough. But Goku didn't stay there. 24 years of training took over. Even through the grief, even through the fury, his body knew how to compress power, knew how to refine it, knew how to take something massive and unstable and forge it into something controlled. The Golden Ape shrank, condensed, reformed. When the light faded, Goku stood in a form no Saiyan had achieved in eons. Red fur covered his torso and arms. His eyes were yellow, outlined in red. His hair was black, wild, longer than before. His tail swayed behind him, pulsing with power that made Frieza's 100% feel like a candle next to a star. Super Saiyan 4. What? Frieza's composure cracked. What is that? What have you become? Goku didn't answer with words. He answered by closing the distance between them before Frieza could blink, his fist burying itself in the tyrant's stomach. Frieza folded around the impact, vomiting blood, and before he could recover, Goku's elbow crashed into his spine. This wasn't a fight anymore, it was an execution. Every technique Frieza tried was countered. Every transformation he attempted was interrupted. Every scream, every plea, every threat, all of it bounced off Goku like rain off stone. Please, Frieza finally begged, floating in the air with one arm missing and his body broken. Please, I'll leave. I'll never return. I'll give you anything you want. Goku paused, considering. Nappa's death had been an accident, a failure of control. This would be a choice. You killed my people, Goku said quietly. You killed Vegeta. You would have killed everyone on this planet if I hadn't come. I can change. I swear it. No. Goku raised his hand, gathering energy into a concentrated point. You can't. This wasn't uncontrolled destruction. This wasn't an accident. This was a conscious decision, made with full understanding of what it meant. The blast consumed Frieza completely. No body, no cells, nothing left to regenerate from. The tyrant who had terrorized the universe for generations was gone. In the aftermath, the survivors gathered the Dragon Balls. Porunga, the Namekian dragon, enhanced by Guru's final blessing before death, granted their wishes. The dead restored to life. The planet's destruction halted. Transportation back to Earth for everyone. Everyone except Goku. He stood apart as the golden light of the dragon faded, watching Vegeta gasp back to life, watching the prince's eyes find him and fill with complicated emotion. You transformed, Vegeta said. That power. What was it? Super Saiyan 4. Goku looked at his hands, still covered in red fur. The form was stable now, controllable, but he could feel its weight on his soul. I didn't know it existed until it happened. You killed Frieza. Yes, that was supposed to be mine. Vegeta's voice cracked. I was supposed to avenge our people. I was supposed to. You died avenging them, Goku said gently. You died fighting. That matters, Vegeta. The prince had no response to that. Goku returned to Beerus' planet expecting destruction. Instead, he found Beerus sitting on his throne, fully awake, staring at him with an expression that might have been respect. You defied me, the Destroyer God said. Yes. You killed Frieza without permission. Yes. And you achieved a transformation that hasn't been seen in 10 million years. Goku said nothing. Beerus' lips curled into something approaching a smile. Good. That's the first time you've acted like a proper god of destruction. Frieza was useful, but he was growing arrogant. You've done the universe a favor. The relief that flooded through Goku was profound and troubling. He'd been prepared to die for what he'd done. Instead, he was being praised. Though Beerus added, if you ever defy me again without achieving something equally impressive, I will erase you. Understood? Understood. Good. Now go rest. And tell the prince he's welcome to train here, if he survives long enough to ask. On Earth, Vegeta emerged from the transported group with his hands shaking and his pride in ruins. Goku had saved him. Goku had avenged him. Goku had achieved a power Vegeta couldn't even comprehend, while Vegeta had died accomplishing nothing. The obsession that had begun on Earth intensified into something darker, something that would drive him for years to come. I will surpass you, Kakarot, Vegeta whispered to the empty sky. I swear on my Saiyan blood, I will surpass you or die trying. Little did he know, Goku was watching from across the stars, hoping for exactly that. So that's the Namek Saga in this timeline, folks. Goku defied Beerus for the first time. He learned the truth about who ordered his race's extinction. He He watched Vegeta die in his arms, triggered a transformation that hasn't been seen in 10 million years, and killed Frieza with full intention. Not an accident like Nappa, but a conscious choice. And here's what I want you thinking about. Goku is changing. He's learning what it means to destroy with purpose, to make hard decisions, to be something more than just a warrior who trains in isolation. Is he becoming what Beerus always wanted? Or is he becoming something else entirely? Meanwhile, Vegeta is back on Earth with nothing but shame and obsession. He owes Goku his life, his vengeance, everything. That kind of debt either destroys a man or transforms him. 5 years is a long time to hate someone. Vegeta discovered this in increments, each day on Earth adding another layer to the complicated mass of emotions he refused to examine too closely. He trained in Capsule Corporation's gravity chamber until his bones cracked and healed and cracked again. He pushed his body past every limit he'd ever known, past every limit he'd thought possible. And still, when he closed his eyes, he saw Kakarot standing over Frieza's broken form, wreathed in that impossible red fur, wielding power that made everything Vegeta had ever achieved look like a child's tantrum. The Prince of all Saiyans, reduced to a footnote in someone else's victory. Here's the thing about Vegeta that most people missed. His pride wasn't vanity. It was survival. When you're the prince of a dead race, the last true royal of a conquered people, pride is the only thing separating you from being nobody at all. Every time Kakarot surpassed him, it wasn't just defeat. It was existential erasure. So Vegeta trained, and trained, and trained some more. The humans gave him a wide berth, which suited him fine. The bald one, Krillin, occasionally attempted conversation, which Vegeta ignored. The three-eyed one, Tien, seemed to understand the value of silence, which Vegeta grudgingly respected. But it was the woman who refused to leave him alone. Bulma Briefs was everything Vegeta despised about Earth. Soft, loud, emotional, and utterly convinced of her own importance despite being weaker than the average Saiyan infant. She had no business speaking to him, no right to demand his attention, no reason to exist in his orbit at all. And yet, "You're going to kill yourself in there," she said one evening, watching him emerge from the gravity chamber covered in blood and bruises. "The readings say you hit 450 times Earth's gravity. That's insane. Your opinion is irrelevant. My opinion is that you're an idiot with a death wish." She crossed her arms, blue hair catching the sunset light. "What are you even training for? Frieza's dead. The universe isn't ending." Vegeta's jaw tightened. "You wouldn't understand. Try me." He should have walked away, should have ignored her like he ignored everyone else. But something in her eyes, that absolute refusal to be intimidated, reminded him of a Saiyan woman he'd known once, centuries ago it felt like, before Frieza had taken everything. "There's a Saiyan," he said slowly, "who was raised by gods, who achieved a transformation I've never seen, who killed the tyrant I spent my entire life planning to destroy." His hands clenched at his sides. "I will surpass him, or I will die. There is no other option." Bulma studied him for a long moment. Then, inexplicably, she smiled. "Okay," she said. "Then let me help you not die in the process. I've been working on some improvements to the gravity chamber. More efficient energy distribution, better medical monitoring, automated recovery protocols. Interested?" Vegeta stared at her like she'd grown a second head. "Why would you help me?" "Because you're interesting," she shrugged. "And because watching you destroy yourself is boring. I'd rather watch you succeed." It wasn't friendship. Vegeta didn't do friendship. But it was something. A partnership, perhaps. An alliance of convenience. Within a year, it had become considerably more than that. The transformation came on a Tuesday. Vegeta had stopped counting the days by then, measuring time only in training sessions and recovery periods. The gravity chamber had become his entire world. 450G, then 500G, then numbers that would have killed any other being in the universe. And still he couldn't touch Super Saiyan. He understood the theory. Whis had explained it to Kakarot, who had never needed it, but the knowledge existed in Saiyan legend regardless. Intense emotional turmoil, combined with sufficient power, could trigger an ascension beyond normal limits. The golden hair, the green eyes, the multiplied strength. Kakarot had skipped it entirely, gone straight from base form to that monstrous Super Saiyan 4 through some pathway Vegeta couldn't replicate. But the traditional path still existed. Vegeta just needed to find the trigger. The problem was that Vegeta's emotions were a fortress. He'd spent his entire life building walls around his feelings, turning grief into anger, turning shame into pride, turning fear into cold, calculated ambition. Opening those walls felt like surrender. But on that Tuesday, alone in the gravity chamber at 500G, something cracked. He was thinking about his father. King Vegeta had been a proud man, too proud perhaps, to see the chains Frieza had wrapped around their people. He'd bowed to Beerus once, used his own son as a footstool for a god's comfort, and Vegeta had never forgiven him for it. But he'd also been the only parent Vegeta had ever known, the only connection to a homeworld that existed now only in memory. Frieza had killed him. Frieza had killed all of them, and Vegeta hadn't been there to stop it because he'd been off conquering planets for the monster who destroyed everything he loved. The guilt hit like a physical blow. All those years serving Frieza, all those planets purged, all those lives ended. He'd told himself it was survival, that he had no choice, that someday he'd be strong enough to break free. But the truth was simpler and uglier. He'd been a coward. A powerful coward, but a coward nonetheless. And when the moment of reckoning finally came, when Frieza stood before him on Namek with all that power on display, Vegeta had died accomplishing nothing, had been revived only because Kakarot, the low-class warrior who should have been beneath his notice, had succeeded where the Prince of all Saiyans had failed. The scream that tore from Vegeta's throat wasn't rage, it was grief. 20 years of suppressed mourning exploded outward, and with it came the transformation he'd been chasing. Golden light erupted from his body. His hair stood on end, shifting from black to brilliant gold. His eyes burned green with power he'd only dreamed of. Super Saiyan. Vegeta stood in the center of the gravity chamber, golden aura crackling around him, and for the first time since Namek, he smiled. "I'm coming for you, Kakarot," he whispered. "This is only the beginning." On Beerus' planet, Goku felt the surge of power and grinned. "He did it," he said to no one in particular. Vegeta went Super Saiyan. The form was stable now after months of practice. Super Saiyan 4 came as easily as breathing, though Goku found himself rarely using it. There was something almost unfair about the transformation, like bringing a cannon to a knife fight. He'd been exploring other aspects of his training instead, refining the divine key techniques Whis had taught him, pushing toward that elusive state called Ultra Instinct. He hadn't touched it since Namek. The grief that had unlocked Super Saiyan 4 had faded into something manageable, and with it went the key to further transformation. Whis insisted that emotion wasn't the answer anyway, that true Ultra Instinct came from the opposite direction, from perfect calm rather than perfect storm. Goku believed him. He just couldn't figure out how to get there. "The prince has potential," Whis observed, appearing beside him. "Raw, undisciplined potential, but potential nonetheless. Given time, he might even achieve Super Saiyan 2. You think so?" "I think he's driven by something you lack, Goku. Desperation. You've never truly been desperate. Everything has come to you through patient training and natural talent. Vegeta has had to claw for every scrap of power he possesses." Whis smiled that enigmatic smile. "There's value in that. Suffering builds strength in ways that comfort cannot." Goku considered this. He'd never thought of his upbringing as comfortable. The isolation had been crushing at times, the loneliness almost unbearable. But Whis was right that he'd never been desperate, never faced extinction, never lost everything and had to rebuild from nothing. Vegeta had. And that difference showed in everything the prince did. "I hope he gets stronger," Goku said. "I want to fight him again. Really fight him, not the one-sided thing on Earth. You may get your wish sooner than you think." Whis' staff glowed briefly. "There's something approaching Earth. A time machine, if I'm not mistaken. How curious. A time machine? From a future that no longer exists, carrying a warrior who shouldn't be possible." Whis tilted his head, intrigued. "The threads of fate are tangling, Goku. This should be interesting." Future Trunks arrived on Earth expecting to find his father. What he found instead was a world that made no sense. The Goku he remembered, the kind, simple warrior who'd trained with King Kai and achieved Super Saiyan on Namek, didn't exist here. In this timeline, Goku had apparently been raised by gods on some distant planet, had never married, had never fathered Gohan. The entire foundation of Trunks' existence had been erased, and yet here he was, existing. A paradox wrapped in purple hair and Capsule Corporation armor. "I don't understand," he said, standing in the Capsule Corporation living room while the Z-Fighters stared at him like he'd grown wings. "My mother said Goku would be here, that he'd help fight the androids." "Androids?" Krillin's face went pale. "What androids?" Trunks explained. "Dr. Gero, the Red Ribbon Army's revenge. Artificial humans with power beyond anything the Z-Fighters could match. In his timeline, they'd killed everyone. Piccolo, Tien, Krillin, Vegeta, everyone except his mother and himself. But Goku died of a heart virus before they even appeared," Trunks finished. "I brought medicine from the future to save him. Except, he's not here. He's never been here." The room fell silent. "The timeline's different," Bulma said slowly, her scientific mind working through the implications. "You came from a future where Goku grew up on Earth. But in our present, he didn't. So your future doesn't match our future." "Then why do I still exist?" Trunks demanded. "If this Goku never had children, never influenced the world the way he did in my timeline, everything should be different. I shouldn't be here." "Parallel timelines," Bulma breathed. "You didn't travel back along your own timeline, you crossed into a completely different one. The dimensional barriers must be thinner than we thought." Trunks processed this. His mother, his Bulma, had been wrong about the mechanics of time travel. He wasn't changing his own past. He was visiting someone else's present, which meant his future still existed, still suffered, still needed saving. But first, he had to deal with the androids that might or might not appear in this timeline. "When do they come?" Vegeta asked. He'd been silent throughout Trunks' explanation, studying the young man with an intensity that bordered on unsettling. There was something familiar about this boy. Something in the jawline, the stance, the proud set of his shoulders. 3 years from now, May 12th, on an island 9 miles southwest of South City. Then we have 3 years to prepare. Vegeta's smile was sharp. Good, I was getting bored anyway. The 3 years passed faster than anyone expected. Goku trained on Beerus' planet, pushing Super Saiyan 4 to its absolute limits, occasionally visiting Earth to spar with the Z-Fighters and remind himself what mortals felt like. Vegeta trained in the gravity chamber, achieving Super Saiyan and then pushing beyond it, his power growing at a rate that surprised even Whis. Trunks trained with his father, his younger father, in this strange timeline where Vegeta had never known him, and tried not to think too hard about the ontological nightmare of his existence. And Dr. Gero, in his underground laboratory, put the finishing touches on his masterpieces. The androids of this timeline were different from Trunks' memories. Without Frieza's DNA, the battle had happened on Namek, not Earth. Cell was forced to rely on other sources: Raditz, Nappa, Vegeta, a fragment of Goku's data from his brief time on Earth, Piccolo, the human fighters. The result was something almost beautiful in its horror. When Cell emerged from his cocoon on May 12th, he was perfect in ways that made angels weep and demons applaud. Fascinating, Cell said, examining his own hands. I can feel all of you inside me. Saiyan rage, Namekian regeneration, human ingenuity. I am the ultimate warrior, the pinnacle of Dr. Gero's genius. He turned his attention to the gathered fighters, Vegeta, Trunks, Piccolo, the humans, and smiled. Shall we begin? The battle was chaos. Androids 17 and 18 had appeared first, overwhelming the Z-Fighters with their infinite energy and mechanical precision. Then Cell had arrived, absorbing both androids despite Vegeta's best efforts to stop him, achieving his perfect form in a cascade of screaming light. Now Perfect Cell stood at the center of his own arena, broadcasting a challenge to the world. Defeat him in single combat, or watch the Earth be destroyed. The Cell games had begun. Goku arrived from Beerus' planet with explicit instructions ringing in his ears. Let the other Saiyan prove his worth. Beerus wanted to see what Vegeta could do, wanted to evaluate whether the prince was worth training. So Goku held back, standing at the edge of the arena while Vegeta stepped forward. You've absorbed my cells, Vegeta said, golden aura blazing around him. Let's see if you know how to use them. The fight that followed pushed both warriors to their limits. Cell was strong, stronger than Vegeta had anticipated, but the prince had spent 3 years preparing for exactly this moment. Every technique, every strategy, every ounce of power he possessed went into the battle. And it wasn't enough. Impressive, Cell admitted, one hand wrapped around Vegeta's throat. You're stronger than the data suggested. But strength alone isn't enough, Prince. You lack the conviction to win. He threw Vegeta aside like garbage and turned his attention to Trunks. Ah, the boy from the future. I've been curious about you. Your cells aren't in my design. You're an anomaly. Let's see what anomalies can do. Trunks was stronger than his father in raw power, his Super Saiyan form blazing bright enough to hurt the eyes. But Cell was playing with him, Vegeta realized. Testing limits, enjoying the despair on the young man's face, and then Cell's tail shot forward, piercing Trunks through the chest. No! The scream tore from Vegeta's throat before he could stop it. He was on his feet, moving without thinking, watching his son, the boy he'd refused to acknowledge, the child he'd never known in this timeline, crumple to the ground with blood spreading beneath him. Something shattered inside Vegeta. Not grief exactly, something sharper. The realization that he'd wasted years refusing to connect with his own child, and now that child was dying because Vegeta hadn't been strong enough to protect him? The same failure, the same powerlessness, the same story repeating itself across generations. Golden light exploded outward, but this time it was different. Brighter, more intense. The air crackled with electricity as Vegeta's power skyrocketed beyond anything he'd achieved before. His muscles bulged, his hair stood straighter, sharper. Lightning danced around his body like a living thing. Super Saiyan 2. You! Vegeta snarled, his voice barely recognizable, touched my son. Cell's confident smile flickered. Let me show you what that mistake costs. The final battle of the Cell games lasted exactly 93 seconds. Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta was everything Cell wasn't. Focused, furious, and utterly committed to destruction. Every blow landed with killing intent. Every technique came from decades of combat experience. Every second brought Cell closer to oblivion. This is impossible, Cell gasped, trying to regenerate from wounds that appeared faster than his cells could multiply. I have Saiyan cells. I should be able to... You have copies, Vegeta interrupted, his fist shattering Cell's jaw. Pale imitations of warriors you never understood. You have Saiyan cells, but you don't have Saiyan pride. Another blow. Another chunk of Cell's body vaporized. You don't have Saiyan rage. Cell's arm, gone. You don't have a Saiyan's love for his son. The final attack came not as a dramatic technique, but as a simple, devastating beam of energy that caught Cell in the chest and expanded outward until nothing remained. No cells, no regeneration, no second chances. Perfect Cell was gone. And Vegeta stood alone in the arena, golden lightning still crackling around him, breathing hard and feeling something he hadn't felt in decades. Victory. His victory. his transformation, his moment. From the edge of the arena, Goku watched with a smile that held no jealousy, only genuine joy. This was what he'd wanted, what he'd hoped for since Namek. A rival who could push him, a Saiyan who could stand beside him rather than behind him. "Well done, Vegeta," he said quietly. "Well done." In the aftermath, while the humans celebrated and Trunks recovered from wounds that should have been fatal, Vegeta sought out Goku. "You held back," the prince said. "It wasn't an accusation, just an observation." "Beerus wanted to see what you could do," Goku admitted. "He's considering training you." Vegeta's eyes widened. "Training me? On his planet? If you're interested. Whis says you have potential. Raw, undisciplined potential, but potential." The silence stretched between them, two Saiyans, the last of their kind in this universe, standing at a crossroads. "I know who Beerus is," Vegeta said finally. "I remember him from when I was a child. He terrifies me in ways I've never admitted to anyone." "He terrifies me too," Goku said. "But Whis is the best teacher in the universe, and I could use a sparring partner who can actually keep up." Vegeta's jaw worked. Pride warred with ambition, with fear, with the desperate need to grow stronger that had driven him his entire life. "Take me there," he said. The first time Vegeta set foot on Beerus's planet, his legs nearly gave out. 20 years had passed since he'd last seen the Destroyer God, but the memory was carved into his bones. King Vegeta, forced to his knee. Young Vegeta, used as a footstool. The humiliation, the helplessness, the absolute certainty that nothing he ever did would matter against that kind of power. Beerus was waiting for them, lounging on his throne with the casual indolence of a being who had never known true challenge. "The prince returns," Beerus said, not bothering to open his eyes. "You've grown since I last saw you. Taller, stronger, still insignificant, but less so than before." Vegeta forced himself to breathe, forced his legs to hold steady, forced his pride to bend just enough that he could lower his head in acknowledgement of Beerus's power. "Lord Beerus?" he managed. "I've come to train." Beerus's eyes opened, slitted and ancient and utterly unimpressed. "Then train you shall." "Whis, he's your problem now." "With pleasure, my lord." Whis appeared beside them, staff in hand, that eternal smile playing at his lip. "Welcome to your new home, Prince Vegeta. We have much work to do." Vegeta straightened his spine, met Whis' gaze, and for the first time since Namek, allowed himself to hope. Somewhere across the cosmos, future Trunks was saying goodbye to his father, both versions of him, before returning to his own timeline to face the androids that still plagued his world. He would defeat them, he would save his future, and someday perhaps he would return. But that was a story for another time. For now, on Beerus's planet, two Saiyans stood together and prepared to transcend everything they'd ever been. So that's the Cell Saga in this timeline, folks, and it belongs entirely to Vegeta. He achieved Super Saiyan through grief over his father and guilt over his failures. He achieved Super Saiyan 2 through love for a son he barely knew, a son from a timeline that shouldn't exist. And he destroyed Perfect Cell not with borrowed techniques or last-minute power-ups, but with pure Saiyan fury and a father's rage. This is what Vegeta was always meant to be. Not a supporting character in someone else's story, but a protagonist in his own right. And now both Saiyans train under Whis. Two rivals, two paths, one destination. Goku with his Super Saiyan 4 and his divine foundations. Vegeta with his Super Saiyan 2 and his desperate ambition. What happens when they push each other for years? What happens when an ancient evil awakens and Beerus demands they prove themselves? 7 years of training under Whis changed everything Vegeta thought he knew about power. The first lesson came on day 1, when Whis handed him a broom and told him to sweep the courtyard. Vegeta had stared at the instrument like it was an insult to his bloodline, which, in fairness, it was. The Prince of all Saiyans did not sweep. "The courtyard," Whis repeated, his smile never wavering, "will not sweep itself. I came here to train, not to perform servant's duties. And you will train, after you sweep." Whis tilted his head. "Or you can leave. Lord Beerus won't stop you, though I suspect he'll be disappointed. He was rather curious to see what you could become." Vegeta swept the courtyard. He swept it the next day too, and the day after that. For 3 months, his training consisted entirely of menial tasks. Sweeping, cooking, carrying water from a spring that existed in a dimension where gravity fluctuated randomly, polishing Beerus's collection of ancient artifacts that hummed with enough power to destroy solar systems. It was humiliating, degrading, beneath everything Vegeta had ever been, and slowly, infuriatingly, he began to understand. "You're learning patience," Goku explained one evening, watching Vegeta scrub dishes with barely contained fury. "I did the same things when I was a kid. Whis says it builds the foundation." "The foundation for what? Domestic servitude? For stillness?" Goku shrugged. "You can't achieve Ultra Instinct if you're always angry. The body has to move without the mind getting in the way. But your mind is always in the way, Vegeta. Always planning, always raging, always thinking about what comes next." Vegeta's scrubbing intensified. "And you've achieved this Ultra Instinct?" "No." Goku's admission was surprisingly humble. "I touched it once, on Namek, when I transformed, and I've felt it flickering since then. But I can't hold it. Whis says I'm too excited. I love fighting too much to let go of the experience of it. so neither of us can achieve what we came here to learn. Not yet, Goku grinned. But that's what makes it fun, right? Having something to work toward. Vegeta didn't answer, but something in his chest loosened, just slightly, at the realization that even Kakarot struggled with this. Maybe they weren't as far apart as he'd feared. The years blurred together in a rhythm of training and rest, of breakthrough and plateau. Vegeta mastered his Super Saiyan 2 form within the first year, stabilizing it to the point where he could maintain it indefinitely without strain. But that wasn't enough. It would never be enough, so he pushed further. The Great Ape transformation had always been Vegeta's birthright. Unlike Kakarot, who'd been trained from childhood to control it, Vegeta had relied on the Blutzwave generators in his old Saiyan armor to trigger the change. The raw, uncontrolled version. The monster that destroyed without thought or mercy. Under Whis' guidance, he learned differently. The Great Ape is not a separate entity, Whis explained, projecting images of Saiyan biology that would have been classified as highest-level secrets under Frieza's empire. It's an amplification of your existing self. The rage you feel in that form is your rage, magnified. The destruction is your destruction, unfiltered. To control it, you must first accept that the monster is you. Vegeta didn't like that lesson. Didn't like looking at the beast inside himself and acknowledging that it had always been there, waiting. But he learned it anyway, because the alternative was stagnation, and stagnation was death. By year 3, he could transform at will. By year 4, he could maintain consciousness throughout. By year 5, he could compress the power the way Goku had shown him, channeling the Great Ape's strength into a humanoid form. Super Saiyan 4. The first time Vegeta achieved it, standing in the training dimension with red fur covering his torso and power thrumming through every cell, he laughed. Actually laughed. Loud and genuine and utterly unlike anything he'd allowed himself in decades. Finally, he breathed. Finally, Kakarot, we're equals. Goku, watching from across the dimension, just smiled. Not equals, he said. Rivals. There's a difference. Equals stay the same. Rivals keep pushing each other higher. Goku's aura flared, his own Super Saiyan 4 form materializing in response. Ready to find out who's ahead? The sparring match that followed cracked the training dimension in 17 places and required Whis to intervene before they accidentally destroyed something irreplaceable. Neither Saiyan could have said who won. That was probably the point. On Earth, the years passed more peacefully. Young Trunks grew up without the shadow of apocalypse that had defined his future counterpart's childhood. He was spoiled, arrogant, and entirely too confident for a child his age, traits that Vegeta would have recognized instantly if he'd been around to see them. Krillin married Android 18, a development that surprised everyone except 18 herself, who had apparently decided that the small bald human was the least annoying option available. They had a daughter named Maron, who inherited her mother's blank stare and her father's complete inability to read a room. Piccolo meditated at the lookout, growing stronger through methods that made sense only to Namekians. Tien trained in isolation. Yamcha gave up fighting entirely and became surprisingly successful at baseball. The world healed from the Cell games. Forgot about them mostly, moved on. And in a sealed ball deep beneath the Earth's surface, an ancient evil stirred. Majin Buu had been sleeping for millions of years, sealed away by the Supreme Kais in an era before Saiyans existed, before Frieza's empire rose and fell, before the current destroyer gods took their positions. Buu was old in ways that made Beerus look like a newcomer, a primordial force of destruction that had devoured civilizations and gods alike. When the wizard Babidi began the unsealing ritual, Beerus felt it from across the universe. Well, the destroyer god said, stretching languidly on his throne, this should be interesting. Goku and Vegeta paused their sparring match, sensing the shift in their master's attention. Lord Beerus? Goku asked. Majin Buu is awakening. Beerus' eyes glittered with something that might have been anticipation. Troublesome creature, too chaotic to predict, too powerful to ignore. I'd hoped he would stay sealed until the universe ended naturally. How strong is he? Vegeta demanded. Stronger than either of you. Possibly stronger than both of you combined, depending on which form he takes. Beerus smiled, showing teeth. Consider this your final examination. Destroy Buu and I'll acknowledge you as worthy successors to my training. Fail and, well, I suppose I'll have to deal with him myself. How tedious. The two Saiyans exchanged glances. Years of rivalry, of pushing each other beyond every limit, of forging a bond neither would ever admit existed. This was what it had all been building toward. Together? Goku asked. Vegeta's pride screamed at him to refuse. To insist on facing the threat alone, on proving his superiority once and for all. But pride was a luxury he couldn't afford against an enemy like Majin Buu. Together, he agreed, but I'm keeping count of how many times I save your life. Fair enough. Goku grinned. I'll keep count of how many times you need saving. They vanished toward Earth, twin trails of power streaking across the cosmos. The battle against Majin Buu was unlike anything the Saiyans had ever experienced. The creature was chaos incarnate, pink and rubbery and utterly unpredictable. One moment childlike, the next malevolent. One moment playing games, the next attempting genocide. His power fluctuated wildly, sometimes matching the Saiyans blow for blow, sometimes dwarfing them entirely. And he regenerated. No matter how much damage they dealt, no matter how thoroughly they seemed to destroy him, Buu reformed. Every cell contained the blueprint for his entire body. Every fragment could become a new threat. "This is impossible," Vegeta snarled, watching Buu pull himself together for the 15th time. "How do you kill something that can't die?" "All at once," Piccolo said. The Namekian had joined the battle despite being hopelessly outclassed, his tactical mind proving more valuable than his power level. "You have to destroy every cell simultaneously, leave nothing behind to regenerate from." "And how do you suggest we accomplish that?" "I don't know. I'm not the one who trained with gods for 7 years. Goku's eyes widened. "Vegeta, the training dimension. Remember when we cracked it? We nearly destroyed an entire plane of existence. What about it?" "We were trying not to. What if we stopped trying?" The plan was insane. Suicidal. Exactly the kind of thing Goku would suggest, and it might actually work. They lured Buu into a position where his regeneration worked against him, letting him absorb Piccolo, which made him smarter but also more predictable. Then, while Buu was adapting to his new intelligence, the two Saiyans unleashed everything. Not attacks, not techniques, just power, raw and uncontained, Super Saiyan 4 energies colliding and amplifying each other in ways that shouldn't have been possible. The resulting explosion vaporized everything within 1,000 miles, including every single cell of Majin Buu's body. No regeneration, no return, no pink monstrosity rising from the ashes, just silence, and a crater where a continent used to be. "We should probably fix that," Goku said, surveying the destruction. "Dragon Balls," Vegeta agreed. "Later. Right now I need to sleep for a week." The aftermath of Buu's defeat brought unexpected visitors. Beerus descended to Earth personally, something he hadn't done in millions of years. The Z-Fighters who'd survived the battle, Krillin, Tien, the androids, stared at the cat-like deity with the terrified recognition of prey encountering a predator beyond their comprehension. Vegeta, notably, remained calm. Years of training had dulled the terror to something manageable. "You destroyed Buu," Beerus observed. "Impressive. I expected you to need my intervention." "We didn't," Vegeta said, and there was pride in his voice, the healthy kind, the kind he'd earned. "No, you didn't." Beerus's tail swayed thoughtfully. "I came here for another reason, a prophecy. The Oracle Fish spoke of a Super Saiyan God who would appear to challenge me. I've been waiting for this warrior for decades." "Super Saiyan God?" Goku's interest was immediate. "What's that? I was hoping you could tell me." Beerus's eyes narrowed. "Neither of you have achieved it. Your transformations are impressive, but they lack divine ki. The prophecy spoke of something more." Whis materialized beside his master, staff in hand. "If I may, my lord? There is a ritual. Ancient Saiyan legend speaks of it. 5 Saiyans channeling their energy into a 6th, creating a form that transcends mortal limitations." "We don't have 6 Saiyans," Vegeta pointed out. "There's me, Kakarot, Trunks, and..." He paused. "Tarbell. My brother. He's alive somewhere in the galaxy. But that's only 4. 5, counting the pure-hearted one among you." Whis smiled mysteriously. "And if 5 isn't enough, there are other Saiyans in Universe 6, Champa's domain. I'm certain we could arrange alone." The logistics were complicated, but eventually they gathered enough Saiyans. Vegeta, Goku, Trunks, Tarbell retrieved from his exile planet, bewildered but willing, and 2 Universe 6 Saiyans named Cabba and Caulifla who Whis transported across dimensional boundaries with casual ease. The ritual began at sunset. 5 Saiyans formed a circle around Goku, channeling their energy into him, their auras merging and twisting into something new. The light shifted from gold to something deeper, red, but not the red of Super Saiyan 4. This was different, purer, divine. When Goku opened his eyes, they burned with crimson fire. His hair had shifted to a deep red, his aura a thin flame that radiated power unlike anything he'd felt before. This wasn't mortal strength pushed to its limit. This was something else entirely. Super Saiyan God. "There you are," Beerus said, and smiled. The battle between Goku and Beerus was the closest thing to a religious experience the Z-Fighters had ever witnessed. They fought across continents, across oceans, across the upper atmosphere where the air thinned to nothing. Goku's new form moved with a grace his Super Saiyan 4 had never possessed. Lighter, more fluid, every motion conserving energy while maximizing impact. But Beerus was still Beerus, a god of destruction who had existed for hundreds of millions of years. Even at 60 or 70% of his power, he outclassed the newly minted Super Saiyan God. Goku lost, thoroughly, definitively, without question, and he couldn't stop smiling. "That was incredible," he gasped, lying in a crater while Beerus floated above him. "I've never felt anything like that. The power, the speed, the way everything just flowed." "You touched something most mortals never glimpse," Beerus acknowledged. "Divine ki. The power of gods. It suits you, Goku. In another million years you might actually give me a real fight. I'll hold you to that." After Beerus departed, satisfied that the prophecy had been fulfilled, or at least begun, Goku and Vegeta experimented with their new understanding. The Super Saiyan God form had faded, but its essence remained. Divine Ki, once touched, could be accessed again, and when combined with their existing Super Saiyan transformations, Super Saiyan Blue, the form was beautiful. Azure hair, blue aura, power that married mortal determination with divine serenity. Both Saiyans achieved it within weeks, though their approaches differed. Goku's version was wilder, more instinctive, while Vegeta's carried the precision of someone who'd spent years learning discipline the hard way. We have two paths now, Whis observed, watching them spar in their new forms. The mortal path, Super Saiyan 4, primal power, the Great Ape's legacy, and the divine path, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Blue, the power of gods. Most warriors would choose one. And us? Goku asked. You'll try to master both, because that's who you are. Whis' smile held genuine affection. Whether that's wisdom or foolishness, time will tell. Frieza's return came 6 months later. The remnants of his empire had gathered the Earth's Dragon Balls while the Z-Fighters were distracted with Buu and gods and transformations. They wished their emperor back to life, and Frieza, being Frieza, immediately began plotting revenge. 4 months of intense training later, Golden Frieza descended on Earth. Did you miss me? The tyrant purred, hovering above West City with enough power to glass the planet. I've been training, Saiyans. Preparing. This time, there will be no last-minute transformations to save you. Goku faced him alone, not because Vegeta couldn't help, the prince was more than capable. Frieza had ordered the destruction of planet Vegeta, had killed Goku's biological father, had murdered Vegeta on Namek, had haunted both Saiyans' nightmares for years. This was about closure. You've gotten stronger, Goku admitted, sensing Frieza's power. Golden form. Impressive. Impressive? Frieza laughed. I've transcended everything I was. I am perfection incarnate. I am... You're scared, Goku interrupted gently. I can feel it. All that power, and you're still scared of what I might become. Frieza's composure cracked. I fear nothing. Then let's find out. Super Saiyan Blue exploded around Goku like a star being born. The azure aura clashed against Frieza's gold, two gods of destruction in all but name, trading blows that shattered mountains and parted sea. The fight was closer than it should have been. Frieza had genuinely improved, had pushed himself harder than he ever had in his pampered existence. For a few minutes, he even seemed to have the advantage. But Frieza had trained for 4 months. Goku had trained for nearly 30 years. When the final blow landed, it wasn't dramatic. Just a simple palm strike to the chest, channeling enough divine ki to atomize anything mortal. Frieza's eyes widened in disbelief as his golden form flickered and failed. This isn't possible, he whispered. It's over, Goku said. For real this time. The blast consumed Frieza completely. No ambiguity, no return. The tyrant who had terrorized the universe for generations was finally, permanently gone. Or so they thought. On Beerus' planet that night, Whis mentioned something curious. The Tournament of Power will require representatives from each universe, he said casually, as if discussing the weather. Lord Zeno has been planning it for some time. Stakes are rather high, losing universes get erased from existence. Goku's eyes lit up. A tournament? Against other universes? Indeed. And there's a provision for warriors who've been dead less than a certain period. They can be temporarily resurrected for 24 hours to participate. Whis' smile was knowing. I mention this only because Frieza's death was so recent. It would be a shame to waste such a powerful fighter, wouldn't it? Vegeta's expression darkened. You can't be serious. I'm merely presenting options. The tournament isn't for another year or so. Plenty of time to consider the strategic implications. Goku and Vegeta exchanged glances. The idea of fighting alongside Frieza was repugnant. But if the stakes were universal survival, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, Goku decided. For now, let's just keep training. I want to touch that Ultra Instinct again before the tournament starts. An admirable goal, Whis agreed, though I suspect you'll find the trigger sooner than you expect. Pressure has a way of revealing what training alone cannot. He said nothing more, but his eyes held secrets that stretched across timelines and possibilities. The Universe 6 tournament was coming. The Zamasu crisis waited beyond that, and the Tournament of Power, the greatest battle in the history of the multiverse, loomed on the horizon like a storm that would reshape everything. But those were stories for another time. For now, two Saiyans trained beneath an alien sky, chasing forms that had never existed before, rivals and friends in equal measure, pushing each other toward heights that gods themselves had never reached. The Divine Ascension was only beginning. So that's the Divine Ascension, folks. Vegeta finally matched Goku, Super Saiyan 4 to Super Saiyan 4, equals after years of bitter rivalry. They destroyed Majin Buu together with power that cracked dimensions. They touched Super Saiyan God through an ancient ritual. They mastered Super Saiyan Blue, the fusion of mortal will and divine ki. And Frieza, dead again. Killed by Goku with intention and purpose. The second time feels different from the first, doesn't it? More like closure than revenge. But here's what I want you thinking about. Whis mentioned the Tournament of Power, universal survival stakes, and a provision for recently dead warriors to be temporarily resurrected. Frieza's death was very recent. The implications are uncomfortable. The Universe 6 tournament introduces fighters from a mirror universe, including an assassin named Hit, whose time skip technique literally freezes time. And when Goku pushes past every limit against this impossible opponent, he finally touches what he's been chasing for 30 years. And after that, Goku Black, Zamasu, the Zero Mortals plan, an entire timeline erased from existence. Let's get into it. Champa was everything Beerus wasn't. Loud, insecure, and desperately competitive in ways that made his twin brother seem almost dignified by comparison. A tournament. The Universe 6 Destroyer announced, materializing on Beerus's planet with all the subtlety of a supernova. Your universe against mine. 5 fighters each, winner takes the other's Earth. Beerus didn't even open his eyes. Why would I want your Earth? I already have one. Because yours has better food. Champa's rotund form quivered with indignation. I've tasted Earth cuisine from both universes, and Universe 7's is objectively superior. I want it. Then improve your own Earth's cooking. I would if my Earth wasn't a lifeless rock. Some idiot blew it up millions of years ago. Champa's voice rose to a pitch that made Whis wince. Come on, Beerus. When's the last time you had any fun? When's the last time you actually competed for something? Beerus's eyes cracked open. Despite himself, despite the obvious manipulation, something like interest flickered in those ancient depths. 5 fighters. 5 fighters. No killing. We use special barriers to ring out instead. Best of 5 matches wins. Champa grinned. Unless you're scared your universe can't compete? The silence stretched. Then Beerus smiled, slow and predatory. Fine. But we're adding something to the stakes, the Super Dragon Balls. Champa's grin faltered. Those are mine. You have 6. We'll gather the 7th together. Winner takes all 7. Beerus stretched, joints popping with sounds like distant thunder. If you're so confident in your fighters, it shouldn't be a problem. The terms were set. The tournament announced. And across 2 universes, warriors began to prepare. Goku couldn't stop bouncing. Other universes have fighters? He'd asked the question 17 times already, each time with fresh wonder. Strong fighters? People I've never met? Universe 6 is a mirror of our own, Whis explained patiently. Similar species, similar civilizations, different histories. They have Saiyans, for instance, though their Saiyan race developed quite differently. More peaceful, less genocidal. Peaceful Saiyans? Vegeta's voice carried skepticism and something that might have been envy. That's possible? Their planet Sadala still exists. Their Saiyan warriors serve as peacekeepers rather than conquerors. Whis smiled. You might find them interesting, Prince Vegeta. A glimpse of what your people could have become. Vegeta said nothing, but his jaw tightened in a way Goku had learned to recognize. The prince was thinking about his father, his people, the legacy of violence that had defined Saiyan existence for generations. What would it have meant to grow up on a planet that still existed? To be prince of a living race rather than a dead one? Questions without answers, the only kind Vegeta seemed to collect. The Universe 7 team assembled quickly. Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, and 2 surprises. Monaka, a supposedly legendary warrior Beerus claimed was stronger than everyone, and the Android 18's brother, Android 17, who'd been living as a park ranger and had apparently gotten significantly stronger through solitude and wildlife protection. I don't trust Monaka, Vegeta muttered, eyeing the small, timid-looking creature Beerus had produced. He doesn't feel strong. Lord Beerus says he's incredible, Goku said doubtfully. Maybe he's hiding his power? Maybe Beerus is lying to motivate us. They exchanged glances. That actually sounded exactly like something Beerus would do. The tournament took place on a nameless planetoid, transformed by the angels into an arena worthy of divine spectacle. Floating platforms, barrier technology, observation decks for the gods of destruction and their attendants. Everything designed to showcase the best fighters each universe could offer. Universe 6's team was formidable. Batamo, an elastic bear creature immune to damage. Frost, a being who looked disturbingly like Frieza and fought with similar elegance. Magetta, a metallic giant powered by internal furnaces. Cabba, the Saiyan peacekeeper they'd borrowed for the Super Saiyan God ritual. And Hit, an assassin whose reputation spanned galaxies. The matches began. Goku handled Batamo with embarrassing ease. The creature couldn't be hurt, but he could be thrown from the ring, which Goku accomplished while yawning. Frost proved more interesting, matching Goku's base form blow for blow until the Saiyan decided to stop playing. You're good, Goku admitted, but you're holding back. So am I. Want to see what we can really do? Frost's smile turned cold. I thought you'd never ask. What followed was a lesson in why appearances deceive. Frost's true form was nearly identical to Frieza's final form, sleek, powerful, elegant. But where Frieza had relied on overwhelming force, Frost preferred subtlety, a hidden needle coated in poison, a concealed weapon that could incapacitate opponents without detection. Goku went down, paralyzed, and the Universe 7 section erupted in protest. He cheated, Krillin shouted from the stands. That's not fair! The referees examined the evidence, found the poison needle, and disqualified Frost, but the damage was done. Goku was too weakened to continue immediately, leaving Vegeta to step forward. "Good," the prince said, cracking his neck. "I was hoping to fight the Saiyan anyway." Cabba was everything Vegeta wasn't. Humble, respectful, eager to learn rather than dominate. He bowed to Vegeta before their match, called him Sir, and fought with a pure-hearted determination that bordered on naive. Vegeta could have destroyed him. Super Saiyan Blue against base form wasn't a fight, it was an execution. But something stopped him. Something in Cabba's eyes that reminded Vegeta of himself, once, before Frieza had crushed every scrap of innocence out of him. "You're holding back," Cabba said, breathing hard. "Why? This is a tournament. You should be trying to win." "I am trying to win," Vegeta replied, "but I'm also trying to decide if you're worth teaching." "Teaching? You're a Saiyan. You should be able to transform. The fact that you can't tells me your people have forgotten what they are." Vegeta's aura flickered, golden light beginning to emerge. "Let me remind you." What followed wasn't training in any traditional sense. It was Vegeta, pushing Cabba to the breaking point, threatening his planet, his people, his family, saying horrible things that made even Goku wince from the sidelines. "Your home will burn!" Vegeta snarled, his voice carrying genuine menace. "Everyone you love will die screaming, and it will be your fault because you were too weak to stop me." Cabba's power spiked. Golden light exploded outward. "Super Saiyan." "There," Vegeta said, his expression softening into something almost proud. "Now you're a true Saiyan." Cabba stared at his hands, at the golden aura surrounding him, at the power he'd never known he possessed. You were lying. About destroying my planet. Obviously. Vegeta powered down, stepping back toward the edge of the ring. "Keep that transformation. Master it. And someday, when you're strong enough, come find me. I'll teach you more." He stepped off the platform voluntarily, forfeiting the match. The Universe 7 section fell silent in disbelief. Vegeta, the Prince of Pride, had just thrown a fight to teach a stranger how to transform. "You've changed," Goku said quietly, as Vegeta returned to the benches. "Shut up! I mean it! I said shut up, Kakarot," but Vegeta's voice lacked its usual venom, and when he sat down, there was something in his posture that looked almost at peace. Hit was a problem. The assassin's technique, time skip, allowed him to freeze time for a fraction of a second, moving freely while his opponent stood paralyzed. It was the perfect assassination method. Invisible, undetectable, absolutely lethal. Goku figured it out within the first exchange. "You're stopping time," he said, wiping blood from his lip. "Not much, a tenth of a second maybe, but enough to land hits I can't see coming." Hit's expression remained blank. "You deduced that quickly. I've been training to react without thinking for 30 years. Time skip is good, but it's not instant. There's a tell, a microsecond where you're about to activate it." Goku grinned. "Let's see who's faster, your time freeze or my instincts." The battle that followed pushed both warriors beyond anything they'd experienced. Hit extended his time skip, a fifth of a second, a quarter, half. Each extension cost him, straining limits he'd never needed to breach. But Goku kept adapting, kept predicting, kept moving before the time freeze activated. "How?" Hit demanded, frustration cracking his professional composure. "How are you keeping up?" "I don't know," Goku admitted. "My body just moves, like it knows what's coming before I do." Something was happening, something Goku couldn't control, couldn't fully understand. His movements were becoming automatic, responding to threats before his conscious mind registered them. His aura flickered strangely, silver light bleeding through the blue. Ultra Instinct Omen. He'd touched it before, briefly, in moments of extreme crisis. But this was different. This was sustained, seconds stretching into minutes, his body operating on a level that transcended conscious thought. Hit's time skip became meaningless. You couldn't freeze time against someone who didn't need time to react. The final blow landed before Hit realized he'd lost. One moment he was preparing his ultimate technique. The next he was on the ground outside the ring, staring at the arena ceiling. "What was that?" he asked, voice quiet. Goku stood above him, the silver in his aura fading, breathing harder than he had in years. "Something I've been training for my whole life. Something I finally touched." He offered Hit a hand up. The assassin took it. "Train with me sometime," Hit said. "I want to learn to counter that." Deal. Universe 7 won the tournament. The Super Dragon Balls were gathered, a wish was made to restore Universe 6's Earth, and everyone went home satisfied. But the victory felt hollow to Goku. He'd touched Ultra Instinct Omen, had felt his body move with perfect autonomy, without the interference of thought or hesitation, and then it had slipped away, leaving him grasping at smoke. "Patience," Whis counseled. "You've found the door. Opening it fully will take time." "I don't have time. There's always another threat, another tournament, There's always time to improve." Whis' smile held ancient wisdom. "The universe doesn't stop for your convenience, Goku, but neither does your potential. Keep training. The form will come when you're ready." Goku wanted to argue, wanted to push, to demand a faster path. But 30 years under Whis had taught him that some lessons couldn't be rushed. He returned to training, and the universe, indifferent to his frustration, kept turning. Future Trunks arrived 3 months later, broken and desperate. The young man who'd helped defeat Cell was barely recognizable. Older now, scarred in ways that went deeper than skin, his eyes carrying the hollow weight of someone who'd seen everything they loved destroyed. "There's a god," he gasped, collapsing at Capsule Corporation's doorstep. "A god who looks like Goku! He's killing everyone! My timeline, my world, everyone's dead!" The story that emerged was nightmarish. In Trunks' timeline, the alternate universe where Goku had grown up on Earth normally, a Supreme Kai apprentice named Zamasu had become obsessed with mortal corruption. He'd stolen Goku's body using the Super Dragon Balls, killed the original Goku's family, and partnered with his alternate self to begin the Zero Mortals plan. Systematic genocide across all timelines. Every human, every mortal, every being who wasn't a god, exterminated. "He calls himself Goku Black," Trunks said, voice shaking. "He has your face, your techniques, but his ki is wrong, cold, like he's wearing your body as a costume." Goku felt sick. Someone had stolen his identity, not this timeline's version, but still him in some fundamental sense, and was using it to murder billions. "We're going to stop him," he said quietly. "How? He's immortal." His partner, the other Zamasu, wished for immortality using the Super Dragon Balls. "You can't kill them, you can't stop them. I've been fighting for months and nothing works." Vegeta stepped forward, his expression hard. "Then we'll find something that does." "Whis, is time travel to other timelines possible?" "It's complicated," Whis admitted. "Traveling to this Trunks' future would mean crossing dimensional barriers as well as temporal one. The risks are considerable." "Can it be done?" "Yes, but the return journey isn't guaranteed." Vegeta's jaw set. "Good enough. Prepare the transport." "Vegeta," Goku said carefully. "You don't have to. He's using your face to commit genocide." Vegeta interrupted. "Your face, Kakarot. Whatever timeline he came from, whatever version of you he murdered, he's dragging our name through blood and fire. I'm going to make him answer for that." There was nothing more to say. The battle in future Trunks' timeline was the most brutal any of them had ever experienced. Goku Black was everything Trunks had warned. Goku's body with a god's ki, wielding a scythe made of corrupted divine energy. His partner Zamasu couldn't be killed. Every wound healed instantly. Every fatal blow reversed. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Black purred, wearing Goku's smile like a mask. "This body is magnificent. So much potential. Wasted on a mortal mind. I've made it something glorious." "You've made it a murder weapon," Goku replied, his voice flat with rage. "Mortals murder each other constantly. I'm simply elevating the practice." Black's aura flared, pink and wrong. "Shall I show you what your body can really do?" The fight pushed all of them past their limits. Goku's Ultra Instinct Omen activated multiple times, brief flickers of silver that let him match Black's impossible speed. Vegeta achieved something new, Super Saiyan Blue Evolution. A state beyond normal Super Saiyan Blue that burned through his stamina like fire through paper. And still it wasn't enough. Zamasu couldn't die. Black grew stronger with every clash, his stolen body adapting to Saiyan battle rhythms. The two of them together were an unstoppable force of divine malevolence. Desperation called for desperate measures. "The Patara earrings," Goku said. "Whis gave them to us for emergencies." Vegeta's face twisted. "Fusion? You want me to fuse with you? Got a better idea?" The prince had no response to that. Vegeta Blue emerged from the fusion like a newborn god. Power beyond anything either Saiyan had achieved alone, their minds merged into something greater than the sum of its parts. Against merged Zamasu, Black and Zamasu's own fusion, the battle finally turned. But Patara fusion had limits for mortals. The immense power drain gave them minutes, not hours. When the fusion broke, they'd wounded merged Zamasu badly, but not killed him. The immortal god began to dissolve, spreading across the timeline like a cancer, absorbing reality itself. "I am justice," Zamasu screamed, his face appearing in the sky, in the ground, in everything. "I am the universe. I will cleanse all creation." Goku pressed the button Whis had given him, the one that summoned Zeno. Grand Zeno, the Omni King, the most powerful being in existence, materialized with childlike wonder on his tiny face. "Goku," the small deity chirped. "You called. Is this a game?" "Not exactly." Goku pointed at the sky, where Zamasu's face stretched across the horizon. "Can you erase that?" Zeno looked, considered, raised one tiny hand. "Okay." The timeline ceased to exist. Not just Zamasu, not just the planet. Everything, every star, every world, every atom of that corrupted reality, erased as casually as wiping a smudge from a window. Future Trunks fell to his knees, watching his entire universe disappear. "Everything," he whispered. "Everyone I was trying to save, gone." Goku caught him before he collapsed completely. "I'm sorry. I didn't know he'd erased the whole timeline." "It was already lost," Trunks said, voice hollow. Zamasu had spread too far. There was nothing left to save. But knowing that didn't make it easier. Nothing made it easier. They brought Trunks back to the present timeline, his new home, now, whether he wanted it or not. "There's nowhere else for me to go," he said, staring at a sky that wasn't his. "My past is gone. My future is gone. This present is all that's left." Vegeta stood beside him, uncharacteristically silent. Finally, he spoke. My planet was destroyed when I was a child. My people were murdered by a tyrant I served for decades. I've lost everything multiple times. He paused. You survive. That's what Saiyans do. We survive, and we get stronger. I'm only half Saiyan, then survive twice as hard. It wasn't comfort exactly. Vegeta didn't do comfort, but it was something, acknowledgement from someone who understood loss at the cellular level. Trunks wiped his eyes. The Tournament of Power. Whis mentioned it before we left. What is it? A battle between universes, Goku said. The losers get erased. We're supposed to compete soon. Erased? Trunks' voice cracked. Like what just happened to my timeline? Yeah. The young man was quiet for a long moment. Then something hardened in his expression, the same steel that had kept him fighting against impossible odds for years. I want to compete, he said. I want to fight for this universe. It's the only one I have left. Goku smiled. Good. We could use you. From across the stars, Zeno's invitation echoed through divine channels. The Tournament of Power would begin soon. 80 warriors, 8 universes. 48 minutes to determine which realities deserve to exist. The stakes had never been higher. And somewhere, in the space between life and death, Frieza waited for his 24 hours of resurrection. So that's where we are, folks. And it's heavy. Goku touched Ultra Instinct Omen against Hit, his body finally moving the way Whis always said it should, reacting before thought, transcending conscious limitation. Vegeta mentored Kaba, teaching a stranger to transform, throwing a match because some things matter more than winning. Growth, real growth, for both of them. And then the Zamasu crisis burned everything down. Goku Black, a god wearing a stolen face, murdering billions. An immortal partner who couldn't be killed. Vegito Blue, fusion pushed to its absolute limit. And when nothing else worked, Zeno erased an entire timeline from existence. Future Trunks lost everything, again. But he's not giving up. He's fighting for this universe now, the only one he has left. Now comes the Tournament of Power. 80 warriors, 8 universes, 48 minutes. Losers don't just lose, they get erased. Their entire universes wiped from existence. Billions of lives riding on every punch. Frieza's back for 24 hours. The team is assembled. And by the end of this, both Goku and Vegeta will achieve forms that have never existed before. This is everything we've been building toward. Let's finish this. The stakes were simple. Survive or cease to exist. Not just the fighters, their entire universes. Billions upon billions of lives, erased with the casual indifference of a child discarding a broken toy. Grand Zeno had announced the tournament with innocent enthusiasm, apparently unaware that his fun game would determine the fate of most of reality. Or perhaps aware, and simply not caring. The Omni King's morality operated on scales that made even gods of destruction uncomfortable. Universe 7 had assembled its team in the weeks leading up to the tournament. 10 warriors, each chosen for a specific reason. Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, future Trunks fighting for his adopted home. Android 17, whose years of solitude had forged something unexpectedly formidable. Android 18, sharp and pragmatic. Krillin because heart mattered as much as power. Tien because discipline had its own strength. Master Roshi because wisdom sometimes trumped youth. And Frieza. This is insane, Krillin said, watching the tyrant materialize from his 24-hour resurrection. He tried to kill all of us, multiple times. He's also one of the strongest fighters in our universe, Goku replied, and he wants to live. That means he'll fight for our survival. Frieza's smile was a wound in the air. How touching. The monkey thinks he understands me. He examined his restored hands with evident pleasure. I'm not fighting for your universe, Goku. I'm fighting for my resurrection. Win this tournament, and I expect to be brought back permanently. We'll discuss that after we survive. Oh, we will. Because if you try to renege on our deal... Frieza's key flickered, cold and vast. Well, let's just say I'll make the remaining hours of my existence very unpleasant for everyone. It wasn't trust. It wasn't friendship. It was an alliance of absolute necessity, held together by mutual self-interest and the knowledge that betrayal meant oblivion for everyone. Sometimes, that was enough. The world of Void stretched infinitely in every direction, a blank canvas upon which the Grand Priest had constructed the tournament arena. Floating platforms, observation decks for the gods, and at the center, a stage large enough to hold 80 warriors in chaotic combat. The rules were straightforward: knock opponents off the stage or incapacitate them. No killing, no weapons beyond what fighters naturally possessed. Last universe standing wins. 48 minutes on the clock. Begin. The arena exploded into violence. Universe 7's strategy was simple. Stay together, pick off isolated targets, conserve energy for the strongest opponents. It worked for approximately 90 seconds before the chaos made coordination impossible. Krillin fell first, overwhelmed by a coordinated assault from Universe 4's invisible fighters. He'd taken 3 of them with him before being knocked from the stage, which was more than anyone had expected. Tien followed, sacrificing himself to eliminate a berserker from Universe 9 who'd been targeting Roshi. The three-eyed warrior's final tri-beam carved the opponent from existence and sent both of them tumbling into the void. Protect the stage, Piccolo commanded, stepping into a leadership role that surprised no one who'd known him. We can't afford to lose anyone else early. But the tournament didn't care about their plans. Universe 11 was the problem. Their Pride Troopers were elite warriors dedicated to justice across their reality. Powerful, coordinated, and led by two fighters who made even Goku nervous. Toppo, the candidate for God of Destruction whose ki carried the unmistakable weight of divine power. And Jiren, who stood motionless at the arena's edge while chaos swirled around him. Jiren, whose power level made no sense, registering as somehow both empty and infinite. Jiren, who hadn't moved since the tournament began because nothing had been worth his attention. He's stronger than Hit, Goku murmured, watching the gray-skinned warrior. Maybe stronger than Beerus. Then we avoid him, Vegeta said. Let the other universes wear him down first. Since when do you avoid fights? Since the survival of our universe became more important than my pride. Vegeta's voice carried no shame, only pragmatic acceptance. We eliminate the weak, we build our numbers advantage, and when Jiren finally moves, we face him together. It was a good plan, sensible, strategic. It lasted until Goku's nature got the better of him. Hey, Jiren! Vegeta's curse was creative and multilingual. Piccolo's groan could be heard across the arena. Even Frieza paused his systematic elimination of Universe 3's robots to stare in disbelief. Goku stood before Jiren, Super Saiyan Blue aura blazing, grin stretching across his face like he wasn't about to fight the most powerful mortal in 8 universes. I've been wanting to test myself against you since I felt your power, Goku said. What do you say? Let's see what you've got. Jiren's expression didn't change. His eyes, dark and fathomless, studied Goku with the disinterest of someone examining an insect. You are not worth my time. Then I'll make myself worth it. The attack came faster than thought. Super Saiyan Blue pushed to its absolute limit. Every technique Goku had learned across 30 years of training compressed into a single devastating assault. Jiren blocked it with one finger. Weak, he said, and flicked. Goku crashed through 3 floating platforms, his blue form flickering dangerously. He pushed himself up, coughing blood, and smiled. Okay, so that's how strong you are. He transformed further. Super Saiyan 4 erupted around him, the primal power of the Great Ape compressed into humanoid form. Red fur, yellow eyes, raw Saiyan might that had once seemed like the pinnacle of mortal achievement. Against Jiren, it lasted 45 seconds longer than Blue. Still weak, Jiren said, standing over Goku's broken form. Your universe should surrender. You cannot win. Goku laughed. Laughed, lying in a crater with half his bones broken. You haven't seen everything yet. The tournament ground on. Master Roshi fell, saving Vegeta from an ambush, using techniques that burned his life force to eliminate 3 opponents simultaneously. He'd known the cost, paid it willingly. Don't waste this, the old man said, as the medical team extracted him from the void. Win. Android 18 fell protecting her brother from Universe 2's Love Warriors, taking 6 of them down before being overwhelmed. Her final attack created an opening that 17 used to eliminate the entire remaining team. Piccolo fell to a combined assault from Universe 6's Namekians, warriors who'd fused until they contained an entire planet's worth of their species. He'd wounded them badly enough that Goku finished them off moments later, but the cost was another Universe 7 fighter gone. Future Trunks fell facing Dispo, Universe 11's speedster. The young man had pushed his Super Saiyan beyond anything he'd achieved before, briefly touching the edge of blue, but it hadn't been enough. He'd lasted longer than anyone expected, though, fighting for a universe that wasn't his, refusing to lose another home. 12 minutes remain, the Grand Priest announced. Universe 7, 5 fighters. Universe 11, 3 fighters. All other universes have been eliminated. The battlefield fell silent, 5 against 3. It should have been favorable odds, but one of those 3 was Jiren. I'll handle Toppo, Vegeta said. You focus on Jiren. Vegeta, don't argue. Toppo's a god of destruction candidate. I know what that means. The prince's smile was fierce and certain. I've been training to surpass gods for years. Time to prove it wasn't wasted. Goku wanted to protest, wanted to insist they face Toppo together, conserve strength for the final battle. But he recognized the look in Vegeta's eyes, the same look he'd seen when the prince stepped forward to fight Cell. This was Vegeta's moment, and Goku had learned, finally, to let his rival have those. Don't lose, he said instead. Obviously. They separated. Goku toward Jiren, who still hadn't moved from his position at the arena's edge. Vegeta toward Toppo, who smiled with the confidence of someone who'd already been granted divine power. Saiyan, Toppo rumbled, you should have run. What comes next will be unpleasant. I've faced gods of destruction before. I've trained under one for almost a decade. You think your borrowed power frightens me? It should. Toppo's transformation was horrifying, his body swelling with destruction energy, his ki becoming something that erased matter simply by existing too close to it. Full god of destruction power granted early by his universe's desperate circumstances. Justice means nothing. Toppo roared, his previous idealism shattered under the weight of survival. Only power matters, only destruction. He attacked with the force of a collapsing star. Vegeta met him in Super Saiyan Blue and immediately knew it wasn't enough. Here's the thing about Vegeta that Goku had always understood but never articulated. The prince didn't fight to win. He fought to transcend. Every battle, every loss, every humiliation, they were fuel. Raw material that Vegeta refined into strength through sheer force of will. He'd been doing it his whole life, turning pain into power, turning failure into determination. Toppo's destruction energy tore through Vegeta's defenses, burned away his blue aura, seared flesh that regenerated too slowly to keep up, and Vegeta kept fighting. "Is that all?" he gasped, blood streaming from wounds that should have been fatal. "The power of a god, and this is all you can manage." "You should be dead," Toppo said, confusion cracking his destructive certainty. "I've been dead before. It's overrated." Vegeta reached inside himself, past Blue, past Super Saiyan 4, past everything he'd ever achieved. He'd walked two paths his entire life. The primal path of Saiyan heritage, Great Ape, Super Saiyan 4, the power of his ancestors, and the divine path, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Blue, the power of God. Everyone had told him to choose one, to specialize, to accept that mortals couldn't walk both roads simultaneously. Vegeta had never been good at accepting limitations. The transformation came not as an explosion, but as a fusion, blue and red merging, divine and primal becoming one. His body restructured itself, Super Saiyan 4's muscular frame but covered in fur that glowed azure instead of crimson. His hair darkened, shot through with blue highlights. His tail radiated divine energy like a banner of defiance. Super Saiyan Blue 4. Toppo's eyes widened. What? What is that? Something new. Vegeta's voice resonated with harmonic power, mortal and divine frequencies overlapping, something that's never existed before. He attacked, and Toppo's destruction energy shattered against him like waves against a cliff. The god of destruction candidate fell in 17 seconds. Across the arena, Goku watched his rival achieve the impossible, and smiled. "That's Vegeta," he murmured. "Always has to be different." "You face me now," Jiren said, finally showing interest for the first time since the tournament began. "Your comrade's transformation is impressive, but you have nothing similar." "No," Goku agreed. "My path is different." "Then you will lose." "Maybe." Goku settled into a stance that wasn't quite a stance, relaxed, flowing, ready for anything. "But I've been training for this moment for 30 years. Let's find out if it was enough." Jiren moved. The first exchange broke the sound barrier 7 times. The second shattered 3 platforms. The third sent shockwaves across the entire arena that knocked Android 17 and Frieza off their feet. Goku was losing. Badly. Super Saiyan Blue couldn't match Jiren's raw power. Super Saiyan 4 couldn't match his speed. Even combining them, switching between forms mid-combat, barely let him survive. "Weak," Jiren repeated, his fist buried in Goku's stomach. "Your universe's strongest warrior, and you can't even touch me." Goku coughed blood. His vision blurred. Every cell in his body screamed for him to stop, to surrender, to accept the inevitable. He'd felt this before, on Namek watching Vegeta die, in the tournament against Hit pushed beyond every limit, the moments when something else took over. "You know what Whis always said?" Goku whispered. Jiren paused, curious despite himself. "He said Ultra Instinct isn't about getting stronger, it's about letting go, letting your body move without your mind getting in the way." Goku's eyes began to change, silver bleeding through the black. "I spent 30 years trying to force it, trying to train my way there. But you can't force letting go." His aura shifted, blue and red falling away, replaced by something that transcended color, pure, perfect, divine. "You have to just stop trying." Mastered Ultra Instinct. Goku straightened and Jiren took an involuntary step back. His hair had shifted to silver white, gleaming like starlight. His eyes burned with the same impossible color. His aura was less a visible phenomenon than a feeling, the sense that reality itself was bending around him, accommodating his existence. "What are you?" Jiren demanded. "I don't know," Goku admitted, "but let's find out together." The battle between Mastered Ultra Instinct Goku and Jiren became legend across the multiverse. Every god watched, breathless. Every fighter, eliminated or not, stood transfixed. Even Grand Zeno leaned forward on his throne, childlike wonder replaced by something approaching awe. This was combat at its purest. Two warriors who had transcended every normal limitation, pushing each other toward heights that shouldn't have been possible for mortals. Goku's body moved without thought, dodging attacks before they launched, countering with perfect precision. He wasn't fighting Jiren, he was flowing around him, water finding the cracks in stone. But Jiren was no ordinary stone. "I will not lose," the Pride Trooper roared, his own power breaking through limits that had seemed absolute. "I have worked too hard, sacrificed too much, strength is all that matters." His assault intensified, raw, desperate, fueled by a lifetime of trauma that he'd never processed, only buried. Jiren had lost everything as a child, had built himself into the universe's strongest mortal through nothing but willpower and pain. And now, someone was matching him. "You're strong," Goku acknowledged, his voice eerily calm. "Strongest person I've ever fought. But you're fighting against yourself as much as me." Silence. All that pain, all that loneliness. You turned it into power, but you never let it go. It's still there, weighing you down. Goku's silver eyes held something like compassion. "That's the difference between us. I'm not fighting because I'm afraid of losing. I'm fighting because I love it." The final exchange happened too fast for most observers to follow. Jiren's ultimate attack, everything he had, compressed into a single devastating blow. Goku's response? Not a counter, but a redirection. using Jiren's own force against him, flowing with the attack instead of against it. The Pride Trooper flew from the stage, his trajectory an arc of defeated certainty. But Goku's form failed in the same moment, mastered Ultra Instinct's strain on his mortal body finally reaching critical. He collapsed, smoke rising from his exhausted frame, silver fading back to black. Time remaining 43 seconds, the Grand Priest announced. Universe 11, 1 fighter. Universe 7, 4 fighters. 1 fighter? Frieza's voice cut through the haze. Jiren is eliminated. Toppo is eliminated. A beam of energy pierced through Android 17's shoulder. Dispo. The speedster hadn't been eliminated, he'd been hiding, waiting, conserving energy for exactly this moment. Frieza cursed and launched himself at the speedster, only to be blindsided by a recovered Jiren. The Pride Trooper hadn't fallen from the stage after all, had caught himself on the edge at the last moment. 30 seconds. Chaos. Frieza and Jiren trading blows with desperate fury. Vegeta struggling to reach them, his Super Saiyan Blue 4 form flickering from exhaustion. Goku trying to stand, failing, trying again. 20 seconds? Jiren's punch sent Frieza skidding toward the edge. Dispo launched at Vegeta, who caught him with a backhand that felt like moving through molasses. 10 seconds. Goku found his feet. Saw Jiren rearing back for the blow that would eliminate Frieza. Saw the angle, the trajectory, the single chance. He moved without thinking. Ultra Instinct's echo, not the full form, but enough. Enough to reach Jiren. Enough to wrap his arms around the Pride Trooper. Enough to meet Frieza's eyes in the instant before impact. Together, Goku said. Frieza understood. The tyrant who'd destroyed worlds, who'd murdered Saiyans for sport, who'd never worked with anyone in his miserable existence. He understood. They hit Jiren from both sides. All 3 of them tumbled from the stage as the clock hit 0. Silence. Then the Grand Priest's voice, ringing across the world of void. Universe 7, 1 fighter remains. The winner of the Tournament of Power is Universe 7. Android 17 stood alone on the stage, clutching his wounded shoulder, staring at the void where his teammates had disappeared. I won? He said, disbelief evident. I'm the last one standing. By process of elimination, yes. The Grand Priest's smile was enigmatic. You may now claim your wish from the Super Dragon Balls. 17 was quiet for a long moment. Then he looked up at the observation platform, where Universe 7's remaining fighters, Goku, Vegeta, Frieza, revived by tournament rules, watched with bated breath. I wish, he said clearly, for all the universes that were erased to be restored. Grand Zeno tilted his head. All of them? Even the ones that were mean? All of them. Everyone deserves a chance to exist. The Omni King considered this, then smiled, bright and innocent and terrifying. Okay, that's a good wish. Reality restructured itself. 8 universes blossomed back into existence, their inhabitants unaware that they'd ever been gone. Trillions upon trillions of lives restored by a single selfless choice. The Tournament of Power was over. In the aftermath, deals were honored. Frieza received his permanent resurrection, a fact that made everyone uncomfortable but no one could argue against. The tyrant departed with promises of seeing them soon that held equal parts threat and something almost like respect. Future Trunks found himself with a permanent home. The timeline he'd lost could never be restored, but this universe had accepted him. These people had fought beside him. That meant something. Vegeta stood at the edge of Beerus' planet, looking out at the stars he'd spent his whole life trying to conquer. Super Saiyan Blue 4, Whis said, appearing beside him, a form that combines divine ki with primal Saiyan power. Theoretically impossible. Practically unprecedented. Theoretically impossible is my specialty. Indeed. Whis smiled. You've walked 2 paths and made them one. There's no one else in the multiverse who could have done that, Prince Vegeta. It's distinctly yours. Vegeta said nothing, but something in his posture softened. He'd spent decades chasing Kakarot, measuring himself against someone else's achievements. Now he had something that was his alone, something that proved his path had value even if it was different, maybe especially because it was different. Goku found Beerus on his throne, the destroyer god feigning sleep despite obviously being awake. Well? Beerus asked without opening his eyes. You touched Mastered Ultra Instinct. You saved the multiverse. What's next? I don't know. Goku sat on the temple steps, honest as always. I've been training to be your successor for 30 years. Learning destruction, discipline, how to balance universes. And I'm still not sure it's what I want. Beerus' eyes cracked open. Oh? I love fighting. I love getting stronger. But the god of destruction thing, erasing planets, managing cosmic balance, sleeping for centuries between meals. Goku shrugged. It doesn't feel like me. Then what does feel like you? The question hung in the air. Goku considered it carefully, for perhaps the first time in his life. I want to keep growing, he said finally. Keep finding new challenges, keep pushing past limits I didn't know existed. Maybe that leads to being a destroyer eventually. Maybe it leads somewhere else. He grinned. Does it matter as long as the journey's interesting? Beerus stared at him for a long moment, then, incredibly, laughed. You know, Goku, in all my millions of years of existence, I've never met anyone quite like you. Raised by angels, trained as my successor, and still somehow remained exactly what you were as an infant, a Saiyan who just wants to fight. Is that bad? It's annoying. Beerus settled back into his throne. But I suppose it's also admirable. Keep training. Keep getting stronger. When you're ready to decide what you want to be, I'll be here. Thanks, Lord Beerus. Don't thank me, just let me sleep. The universe continued turning. On Earth, the Z-Fighters lived their lives, training, growing, raising families, protecting a world that rarely knew it needed protecting. Piccolo meditated at the lookout, Krillin taught his daughter to fly, Tien built a martial arts school, Roshi watched over them all with the patience of someone who'd seen generations rise and fall. On Beerus' planet, two Saiyans sparred beneath alien skies. Goku, master of Ultra Instinct, silver light flickering through his aura like lightning through clouds. His body moved without thought, responding to attacks before they launched, flowing through combat like water through fingers. Vegeta, wielder of Blue 4, azure fur rippling with divine and primal power intertwined. His form was his own, unique in all the multiverse, a path no one else had walked or ever would. They clashed at the center of the training dimension, equal and opposite, rivals who had become something closer to brothers across 30 years of shared existence. "You're getting faster," Vegeta observed, blocking a strike that would have ended most fighters. "You're getting stronger," Goku replied, dodging a counter that carried the weight of gods. "Obviously, I'm Vegeta." They fought until the dimension cracked, until Whis intervened with gentle admonishment, until exhaustion finally overcame even their inhuman endurance. And then they rested, and recovered, and began again. Because that's what Saiyans did. That's what they'd always done. They survived, they grew stronger, they pushed each other toward heights that neither could reach alone. The Tournament of Power had determined which universes deserved to exist. But for Goku and Vegeta, the real tournament never ended. It would continue as long as they drew breath, and probably after that too. Far across the cosmos, in a dimension between dimensions, the Oracle Fish stirred from sleep. "The child who fell from the stars," she murmured. "His story isn't over. It's barely begun." Whis heard her. "What do you see, Oracle?" "Challenges, threats, gods and mortals and beings that transcend both. He'll face them all eventually, and he'll keep growing, keep ascending." The fish's ancient eyes glittered. That's what he was born to do. And Vegeta? The prince will walk beside him. Different paths, same destination. They need each other more than either will ever admit. Whis smiled. How fortunate that they found each other then. Fortune had nothing to do with it. The Oracle Fish settled back into sleep. Fate is rarely coincidental, and their fates were intertwined the moment that dimensional rift opened. Whis said nothing more. He simply watched his students, these impossible Saiyans, these mortals who defied every prediction and expectation, as they trained toward futures that hadn't been written yet. The story of what if Goku landed on Beerus' planet had reached its first conclusion. But stories like this one never truly ended, they just found new chapter. Thank you all for taking this journey with me. 7 parts, 30 years of story time, 2 warriors who started on opposite sides of the universe and ended up as the closest thing either has to family. The Oracle Fish said it best. Their fates were intertwined the moment that dimensional rift opened. And those fates aren't finished yet. They're just getting started. Maybe someday we'll continue this story. Explore what comes after the Tournament of Power. See what new heights Goku and Vegeta can reach when they've already touched the divine. But for now, this is where we leave them. Training beneath alien skies, cracking dimensions with their sparring matches, pushing each other toward futures that haven't been written yet. Rivals, brothers, Saiyans. It's been an honor, everybody. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.